Here at Intoxicated Reviews, we intellectually dissect the art of cinema, scene by scene. Here's some clips.
All he is just a fucking big wooden doll full of cum, chasing kids around.
You look up guys who poop in a bag. Because I think that's where you'll find him. Because he is hurt.
It's probably just in your search history anyway, isn't it?
This movie fucking blows.
So don't forget to subscribe to Intoxicated Reviews on all places you find podcasts. Except Spotify. We're working on it.
I'm Caitlin Hartland, and every month I'll bring you all that is queer and dear to my heart. Out of Context aims to illuminate and educate the world about the queer community. Whether you fall under the queer umbrella yourself or are an ally hoping to learn more, Out of Context is for everyone. Hosted on Buzzsprout, you can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app, and become a patron on my Patreon page. Follow Out of Context on Instagram and Facebook. I would love to connect with you. Email outofcontextpod@gmail.com with your ideas and submit a context.
Hey everyone, Chris Hansen here of Hansen vs. Predators, and Can't Your Predator, why don't you have a seat right over there and listen to Kyle and Brandon, our podcast. According to my chat logs, Kyle and Brandon have interesting guests.
No, I hated it.
Yeah.
Everybody's sweaty, everybody's on drugs, so they're super sweaty but also touchy, and then they touch your face, then you leave there, and the next day you have pimples.
Fantastic conversation.
He's underground in a lab, floating in a tank of water, because he almost died.
And most important, no predators.
Do not take product if you are hypersensitive.
Oh, hey, Internet. Welcome back to another episode of the Intoxicated Podcast. I'm your host, Scott MacLean, and this is a comedy variety talk show that gets personal. You guys, I swear to God, this intro is going to be very, very quick because I have a super duper long episode for you this week. Oh boy. So this week I have a third time returning guest and a good friend of mine. Scott MacLean makes his return to the podcast. This one's way different than his previous appearances on the show. This is a Joe Rogan length podcast. I want to explain something here that me and Scott really didn't talk much about what we were going to talk about on the show before we did. But this episode turned out to be super deep and philosophical and some heavy shit in this episode, okay? So it's not your standard comedy episode. That said, I love it so much. I had such a fun time talking with Scott. Pretty much, I started recording and I realized quickly that the new way that I'm recording these episodes, I actually don't really see how much time we're recording. I actually now found the spot where I can see the time in a very small text. I can see the time that we were recording. We ended up recording and hanging out for almost 4 hours on this night. Now, not all of that is part of the episode. You know, a lot of that was talking before and afterwards as well. I also went live at one point and we just kind of hung out live on YouTube and Twitch for a bit as well, which I do every now and then. So that's why you got to make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and the Twitch channel so you don't miss a impromptu live stream. But yeah, so this is a very long episode, but it's a really, really great one. We talk about grieving, we talk about death, we talk about how we deal with chaos and depression and all of that. It's a doozy, you guys. I love it though. I've really been in an introverted, introspective mood, and this was the conversation I deeply needed to have. So I want to give a big thank you to Scott, who's an amazing guest this week. I genuinely enjoy having Scott MacLean on the podcast. And I did want to also mention that Scott is doing a lot of live streaming lately. Him and his amazing girlfriend, Lauren, go live quite regularly in a Facebook group called The Ultimate Online Nova Scotia Kitchen Party COVID-19 Edition. I'm going to make sure to link below to that because when this comes out on Friday, tomorrow night, Saturday night, he will actually be live in this Facebook group playing some tunes for you all with Lauren. And I highly suggest checking it out because he's really, really good and it's genuinely a good time. So make sure to follow Scott, check out The Online Kitchen Party, follow Intoxicated Podcast, on social media. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. You can check out Patreon. That's patreon.com/intoxicated. And can you leave a review? I'd love some new reviews. So if you're a fan of the show, it'd be greatly appreciated to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. If it's a unique and funny review, I will read it on the show. That would be really, really helpful. I would super duper appreciate it. But that's it, guys. Keeping this under 5 minutes. I hope you enjoy this mega jam-packed, extra long, extra deep. Oh God, this just is now sounding really dirty. Enjoy this awesome episode with Scott MacLean.
All right. But if you want to start it off as like the podcast now.
We are
welcome.
officially starting the podcast.
Oh, hey.
Oh, look at this. It's the Intoxicated Podcast. I'm here with a third-time returning guest.
Hey-o.
Mr. Scott MacLean is here.
Drinking Fathoms. We got a Fathom by 9 Locks, the evil brand of Halifax. What are you drinking there?
I'm drinking Vodka Sods. Vodka Sods. Nova Scotia Spirit Co.
Nice.
I just like buying their vodka. I'm not a huge fan of those like cooler drinks that they have. I find them very sweet.
They're pretty sweet.
I don't like sweet drinks.
A ton of them at my buddy's wedding because that was like a theme of the wedding. Like him and his like bro-y friends were all very into the Blue Lobsters, and they were like, "Oh, get some Blue Lobbies." And when I have a diverse group of friends. Those are my like douchebaggy bro group of friends.
Yeah.
And as bro-y and as douchebaggy as they are, I love them all to death. They're like really fun. They're good guys. They're just super uber douchey people. I'm sure Chris Halef has like a group of friends like that, right?
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, so they were all about the Blue Lobbies. Like, there's a picture on my fridge right now of us all, me and all the groomsmen, and it's like all of us holding Blue Lobbies.
I mean, I like them. I'll drink 1 or 2, but no more than 2.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but like, I'm a very sensitive. I actually just did a logo redesign, and I took out the whiskey glass because while I like drinking on this podcast, and I will do it, I don't want sober people to think that they have to.
Yeah, that's
it's a huge barrier to entry. I've had guests say no because they assume that they have to drink, and I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. Like it started that way, but like it's more about the conversation. But like I like. So well, let's just fucking get in. I want to start by saying that like you had one of the funniest messages to. Okay, so we're gonna backtrack a smidge. Andrew Vaughn died. We all know. I've talked about the podcast a million times. But the night that I found out, like, you had one of the funniest first messages to me. Do you remember what you said to me?
Not a clue.
The first thing you said?
I'm like, oh, Jesus. What did I say?
Okay, so this was March 18th at 7:39, which makes sense because I remember that day very well. And I had a really bad day. I was feeling anxious and I was feeling weird and off all day. Say what you will about that. I don't know. Could be an intuition or something. But I had this like 5 p.m. nap and I woke up from the nap with a message from Richard being like, can I call you? And honestly, like I thought Andrew got COVID. Maybe he's in the
Yeah.
That was my first thought was maybe he's sick. He's in the hospital or something. Because earlier that morning, I had sent him a message, like a text message early in the morning being like, oh, I'm listening to Boys Club, and there's like, I do hear this like really weird buzzing, and I've screen recorded it, and here it is if you want to hear it. And then I didn't hear from him.
You're like this fucking asshole.
And it's just not like him to not respond or not even see the message.
Yeah, like even Vaughn's not talking to me now. God damn him.
Exactly. So I felt it felt weird that he didn't respond, and then I found out, and then. It was a lot. And then a couple hours later, you texted me, and this is what you said. I could just hear this in your voice, too, like yelling it. Can we do, like, a fucking thing?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was really, like, uncomfortable, because that was, what was that, the 18th?
18th, yeah.
And that was a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
So I was supposed to.
No, it was
a Wednesday.
It was. He died late Tuesday night, and so it was Wednesday that everybody found out.
Yeah. So I was supposed to be performing at Yucks the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Wednesday. I mean, that's Beerley's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and so we found out that Yucks wasn't happening and everything went on lockdown. It was either the week before or I think it was that week.
Yeah.
That it did go down. Unless I was supposed to do the 13th. Whatever, I was supposed to do it. And I remember just being like, I think it was that week. And then everything went on lockdown, like, what, on the fucking weekend before or something like that.
Yeah.
And I am not good at, like, well, I shouldn't say I'm not good. I process death and tragedy in a really weird way.
Oh, can we get into this?
Well, when Patrice O'Neill died, best comedian probably that ever lived, when Patrice O'Neill died on the Opie and Anthony show, all the comedians, everybody who's anybody of comedy was stopping in or calling in and telling Patrice O'Neill stories. And they were either telling hilarious Patrice O'Neill stories about his flaws, busting his balls, talking about shit that he did, and cracking mad jokes. I remember Jim Norton said, someone said, I just feel bad for his family. And then Jim Norton was like, yeah, his mother's got to find a way to find a purple tuxedo to bury him in or something like that, or a big purple suit. And everyone was dying laughing. And like, it would have been so perfect if Beerley's was open because I know everybody would have been there to do that.
It would have been an instant collaborative show that would have happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, collaborative show or just like people. When Vaughn died, it didn't make sense at first. Like I was like, what do you mean Vaughn died? I was like, that's not true. And I feel like shock held me for a long time. It still really hasn't set in. It won't set in until I think I start to see. I think it'll set in a different way every time I see another comedian because, you know, like in person, it just doesn't. It's just I don't know. The same thing happened with a close friend of mine from high school died, and a couple of close friends from high school. One killed himself, and my sister told me, and I was like, she's like, blah 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 died, and I was like, what? No, he didn't.
Yeah,
she's like,
it's denial.
There's
a reason why it's the first stage. Denial is, yeah.
And then I started. I was just talking to Lauren, and I was just like, what? And I don't know. It's really weird. I can't process it. It's just like, it doesn't make sense that he's gone. I can't fucking believe it. I don't know how to deal with this. Yeah. And where I'm a social person, all I wanted to do was like talk to
Rally.
Travis and Martin and all I wanted to do was like talk to them and roast Vaughn.
Absolutely.
And just roast the shit out of them. And I ended up having these conversations in my head, imagining me saying like, I told you, you fucking idiot. Like I always said, you'd be dead by 35. You beat me by a year. And like, then I can imagine his response to me saying like, fuck you. You told me you were going to help me work out. You never did it. Look what you did. And like, it was like I was having a conversation where we were both busting each other's balls about it post-mortem. Like it was really weird experience. And I laughed more than I cried about anything when it came to Vaughn, like just to that whole death, because I just kept thinking of what his take would have been on his own death.
That was the thing that comforted me the most.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, was knowing that, because I mean, on our first episode, like he made this beautiful like comparison to like life is the only dance we dance, and there's nothing after it, and life goes on, and he always had that outlook on it. And so part of me was like, well, I know that this is how he viewed death because he and I have talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm like, I want to believe that it's okay. Like he's okay.
Oh, he's dead. So he's not okay. I mean, I don't believe in an afterlife. I mean, he died in his sleep. So, I mean, like, the worst that you can imagine happened is, like, maybe he woke up and then died, like, with chest pains or something like that. But I imagine it was relatively quick, whatever happened. And, I mean, as far as we could tell, it happened in his sleep. As far as I remember, Vaughn was a pretty heavy sleeper. So I imagine he probably was out for the whole thing. Maybe he had a fucked up dream. I'm a big believer, you know, like, death is what happened before you were born. It feels exactly the same. But as far as, like, when people say you live on, I would say that's a way that he does live on. And I don't want to be fucking cliche or anything, but I talked to him about his death. Now, he might have said something else, but he was such a personality, and you that you had an idea of what he would say.
Yep.
I could have a conversation with him after he died about his death. And it was really, I had close friends of mine coming up, messaging me saying, "Hey man, I heard about your friend. I hope you're doing okay." And I was like, I feel like a fucking sociopath, because, like, I'm not that not okay, because there's a very much, like, I don't know, everything that's fucking happened in my life that's been really rough. Like, I found out some pretty fucking fucked up news recently that's rough to deal with, and it's like, okay, shit happened. Now what? I've ever since me and the ex-mother of my kids broke up, now what has become kind of my motto for when shit happens is it's like, you can't do anything about this, so now what? That hurts, that sucks, but now fucking what? What are you going to do in light of all this shit? Mm-hmm. Because you could sit there and you could put yourself in a depression pit for as long as you let yourself stay there. And I've been in that fucking pit, and I've been deep in that pit for a long time, for a number of times in my life, until I came to this, like, kind of now what are you going to do fucking revelation. So, yeah, when Vaughn died, I was just like, it's like, the only thing you can say about death is it sucks. I don't know what else you can say about it.
It's really fucked up for me because I recorded with him the day before.
Yeah, that's real fucked up.
And the last words I physically said to him, and I make no joke of this, you can't
don't
fucking
die tonight.
No, he pulled up to my cul-de-sac, and I was giving him a webcam so that we could record that night.
Yeah.
And literally he was like, "See you later, buddy." And I go, "Unless one of us dies." Literally, that's what I said.
Wow.
We were referring to COVID.
Yeah. But that's so funny.
Fucked up. It's hilarious, but it's so fucked up too.
It's ridiculous.
And then when we recorded that night, we kind of talked about it as well, and he was saying about how, like, you know, obese people are getting COVID and they're at risk for death, and he's like, "So you'd probably make it, Sarah, but I might die." Again, we were referring to COVID.
Oh yeah.
Because in this crazy time, like, you don't think when this all happened, it just took over our lives. And you don't always think, oh yeah, people can still die of, like, heart attacks, car accidents.
Yeah.
People are still dying in regular ways, but you still don't expect your close friend at 36.
Yeah.
As unhealthy as he was, that's still really young.
Yeah.
To die.
And that's the other thing that happened. That was like, again, it was like, people would come up, you know, somber tones. You could feel it. "Hey, man, feeling real bad for you, yada, yada. I hope you're doing okay." And all that nice shit that people say when someone dies. And, and then they'd say, "What happened?" And I'm like, he was a 36-year-old obese guy who drank every night and smoked and fucking, like, what is shit, and ate like shit. I mean, he was trying his best, but, like, it was what happened?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
it's one situation where the answer why can kind of be answered. You know?
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing is, like, people are, like might go, "Oh my God, that's fucked up that you would laugh at that." But I imagine talking to Vaughn after his death and going, dude, what happened? And he would say, what the fuck do you mean what happened? Look at me.
And the guy was constantly joking about dying.
Yeah, all the time.
Constantly joking about his own mortality. And
I'm just glad he didn't kill himself. That would have been a lot sadder. If he would have killed himself.
Do you think people thought that when they found out? Because in the initial message,
I'm not going to lie, it would have passed through my head. Like, when I heard he had passed away, it was like, did he do something stupid? But I mean, I also read it in the message that Richard had posted. So, like, you found out relatively quick that it happened in his sleep, you know.
Right.
But definitely there was, like, I mean, Vaughn talked about suicide in every sentence. He'd be talking about going to the beach and he'd somehow work away about how he was going to kill himself.
Yeah, there's literally there's a clip from our first episode where we talk about death, and he literally says it would be best to go in my sleep.
Yeah, so I mean, he got that.
He got it.
He did get the best way out as far as that goes. I mean, the bright side of death, I guess, is just, you know, there was a Norm Macdonald bit that was talking about suicide, and people were like, I just don't understand. And Norm Macdonald's like, what do you mean you don't understand? Haven't you been alive? Don't you get it? Life is suffering and everything's sadness. You're just miserable.
Uh-huh.
So, but I did get choked up when I was writing one of my posts.
Yeah.
About how we butt heads. And that is the thing that really started to, like, I did, like, break down and cry for a short amount of time when I started thinking about that stuff. Because Vaughn and I very much, like, there was this, it's hard to explain, but there was when people die and, like, let's say you knew that person really well, and then you see somebody who, like, knew them at a glance.
Yeah.
And then that person's talking about how, like, devastated they are. And you're like, really? Yeah. Are you that devastated? I feel like there might have been some reaction towards me on that post because of the public relationship that Vaughn and I'd had.
Yeah.
Like, one of my friends said, I used to see him shit on you on Facebook all the time. And, like, I remember laughing at, like, him busting your balls and stuff. And I know that some people might be like, you know, like, Vaughn didn't even really like Scott. But, like, Vaughn and I, it was, like, publicly and privately, it was two different things. And we butt head a lot because he's a big personality.
Yeah.
He was a big personality.
And so are you.
And so am I. And that's always going to butt heads. Like, I always wonder if I would like myself if I knew who I was, because I'd probably be like, that guy's fucking loud. And he's like, ooh,
that's a good question. Do you think you would?
I think I probably would, because I think I appreciate busting balls.
Yeah.
And I bust balls, and if I knew me, I'd be busting my balls. And then, like, I got a buddy, a number of my best friends, like, all the closest, I think I've explained this before, everybody who's super close to me, I'm meaner to a person the more I love them. I'll say meaner insults. I'll be harsher to them, because part of it's a filtration system to say, I respect people who can take a joke. So if you can't take a joke, then I'm not going to be able to be me around you, because I'm always fucking joking. I could be serious, obviously. Yeah. We're having this conversation right now, which is relatively serious, but I'd like to be able to make the people I can say the meanest things to, it's a sign of respect from me. And I would say the meanest things to Vaughn. And so, yeah, I would say that if I met me,
But he'd say them right back.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the thing about you guys. You guys matched each other.
Yeah.
In terms of
Vaughn, it's funny because I've talked about this. I've fucking lost my shit at Vaughn so many times, and he's lost his shit at me, because we're both so similar, and we're both, like we both seem maybe so confident, but we're also both so fucking insecure at the same time.
Yeah.
So when I would like he there'd be these times where he'd blow up at me, I'd fucking like snap back at him, and then we'd go through this massive storm of like, like a Facebook argument between the two of us and a private message saying like, man, you fucking treat me like this, blah, 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 blah. And then after our explosion at each other, we'd be like, all right, look, I apologize. I fucking respect you. And then we'd get back to where we were.
Tempers.
As friends.
You both got some tempers on you.
And I don't know if it's tempers. It's just like, we both wanted respect.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that we desired the respect from each other is because we respected each other. Mm-hmm. Vaughn, if he was here right now, would say, fuck that, I don't fucking respect Scott. But he'd say that jokingly. Because he has said to me in private, like he said, I'll never admit this publicly, and I probably won't ever say it again. But one of the reasons why I give you such a hard time is because it's like a projection, and I wish that I had the balls to say some of the things that you say. And the funny thing is like on the inverse of that is it's like, I wish I had the balls to do some of the things that he does, which is like I'll start to write a joke, and I'll write a joke like once and then I'll work it out on stage. But if I really fucking like honed it, I could definitely have a lot stronger, sharpened material. But I've got this fucking scatterbrain that can't stay focused on one thing. And Vaughn has that ability to stay focused and to really craft the joke into like a sharp, he gets his LPM, laughs per minute. He gets them up. He gets, set up punchline quicker, set up punchline, tag. And I have this looser style.
Yeah.
Now my style's more, I hate to use the fucking word. It bothers me because I don't believe it is, but risky. Some of the things that I'll say have been told that they're risky. Yeah, I don't necessarily feel like they're particularly risky, other than the reason
edgy,
that,
maybe edgy.
But even edgy, I hate because I feel like, well, it's just like I'm trying to provoke, and I generally there is a part of me that wants to provoke, but the provocation is not for the sake of provoking. I'm not pushing somebody. I'm not telling humor about certain subjects because I want to bother people. And a lot of people that do those types of things, they're just trying to go out and troll. I have a fucking point. And my point is there's nothing off limits. Like, I want to be able, I wrote this article, God, I don't know how long ago, probably close to 10 years ago, called Free to Fuck Up. And it was about how I want to have that freedom, and I feel like we don't have it anymore. Is we're not allowed to fucking say the wrong thing. Otherwise, you're the worst possible representation of that thing. Mm-hmm. And I miss being able to to say the wrong word or to make a joke that fell flat that didn't have any negative intention, but because it fell flat, now it looks like that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know, like if it makes sense, but
no, it does. I mean, Andrew Vaughn talked about this too, like that we aren't allowed to make mistakes.
Yeah, and I missed that because I'm a bumbling fucking idiot. Like I make mistakes all the time. I will passionately start an opinion, and then if I hear a non-emotionally charged argument on the other end, like that's kind of like the logical antithesis of what I'm saying, if it makes more sense, I fucking have to submit to that. Because that's all I go for. If it's charged by emotion, well, you don't know what it's like to be that kind of person. You don't know what it's like. But I understand what it's like to be that, like, a person that's dealt with it, like trigger warnings and shit like that.
Yeah.
I get the fucking purpose of them. But I also say, fuck trigger warnings, because the world's not always just going to go your way, you know? No. Sometimes your fucking best friend's going to die.
Well,
sometimes, like when I found out about my mother and my kids and having the affair and everything, when I would go to work at the fucking mall, I'd see families, young families with their kids walking around, and I'd go, fuck, look at that. That's what I don't have. That's what I could have had that's been robbed from me. Where's my fucking trigger warning? Well, you don't have it. I got to deal with that.
We didn't have trigger warnings like growing up in our generation, like
no. And I guess there's
high
all
school,
kinds
junior
of,
high, like
there's a bunch of research that has done. I don't know if you've ever heard Jonathan Haidt, but he's a social psychologist, I believe, in Harvard or Yale. I can't remember exactly where he is, but he was talking about how trigger warnings can actually make you feel like something is triggering when it's not. And he gave the example of if you take a bunch of kids on a school trip to the Bronx, and you just like to show them the history of the Bronx, then those kids, you know, as they're walking along, they'll learn the history of the Bronx. But if you tell those kids before they get off the bus, like, all right, kids, just be careful. We just want to let you know, trigger warning. This is a very low income area. There's a lot of like dangerous people and crimes that have happened here. You'll be safe with us. We'll be making sure we have security here with us to make we're safe. But just be warned. We want to give you a trigger warning. And then they get off the bus, and now they're fucking looking over their shoulders.
They won't learn or absorb things.
Yeah, and
in the right way because they're expecting to be scared.
Yeah, and they'll anticipate. And so when you go into a conversation, you put a trigger warning, you might be able to hear that fucking thing and be fine. You know, maybe hear the story about a traumatic event, and you'll be okay. And then, but then you put up a trigger warning, and you're like, you know what? I don't want to talk about this. And
yeah. Well, I mean, people in general, I think that there's a type of person that doesn't want to feel uncomfortable ever.
Yeah,
and
that's fucking everybody.
And it's not everybody though, because like I don't mind being uncomfortable. I like having uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah,
like even if it's about like specifically about yourself. Like you and I have talked about the shitty aspects of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone can have that conversation.
Well,
and
those people...
I've lost friends over that. Like, I've been honest with friends and lost friends because, I said something a little too real. Like, a little too fucking real, you know? Like...
You've lost weak friends who you're better for it. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that I really have no ill intentions. I don't want to make people feel bad, but I also want to be honest about the way that I see the world, because like Facebook's doing this fucking thing apparently where they're going to start banning certain types of posts that are against World Health Organization like recommendations about COVID. They're like, we're going to put either ban it or put like warnings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And maybe the warnings I'm not so against, but the outright banning, I think that's so dangerous. In a number
Why would they be
ways.
Banning them?
Well, because they don't want false information they want to deplatform false information. But guess what happens when you deplatform something? Now it becomes more appealing.
Yeah, people will find it somewhere else.
Drinking at 16 is a lot more fun than drinking at 30 because you're not allowed to do it. It's a little bit bad. And when you come out, when you first start drinking, it's like, ooh, I get to do all those cool things it was the forbidden fruit for so long.
And then you go crazy.
And then by the time you're 30, it's like you're drinking in your fucking apartment instead of going downtown and blowing all your money because you understand now what that whole thing is about.
Yeah.
So like I used to be I was raised Roman Catholic. I struggled with. I got to see George Carlin, a lot of George Carlin bits. He has this one bit on. I think it's down and dirty in New Jersey or something like that. It's about the Bible. It's called, which is known as the greatest story ever told. He calls it the greatest bullshit story ever told. And it's like a 12-minute bit where he's just tearing apart the Bible. Yeah. And I saw that when I was in grade 7 or 8. And I remember thinking, like, I was laughing at his whole special. And then it got to this part shitting on the Bible. And I was still, like, kind of holding on to that belief. And I remember thinking, like, fuck this guy as soon as he got to that. But then I lost my faith. And then I saw it as, like, an angry atheist. And I remember being like, yeah, get him, Carlin. And now I see angry atheists of today. And I'm just like, chill the fuck out.
It's it's more in the middle.
Yeah. It's like, I try to remove emotion from everything when I try to form an opinion. But the only thing that I would say, if anything, is anger has a hard time for me to let go of, which is usually anger at outrage. Because I feel like
you get angry when people are angry.
Yeah, because it's like,
that makes total sense for who you are.
Yeah, it's just like, but I also can't, like, I'm an aggressive person on everything I do. Like, I never motivate myself to work out by going, hey man, you can do it. Just get up off that couch and prove it to yourself. I'm like, you piece of shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? Get up, you fat cunt. And then I anger myself, and then I go, you fucking, all right, I'll do it. Like the other day, I was leaving.
And I get how some people wouldn't like that approach, but listen, it's your approach.
Yeah, and
it doesn't have to be their approach.
I tried to tell it to my buddy Cliff, a comedian in Toronto. He'd be great to have on the podcast.
Yeah.
Clifford Myers. I'll get you in contact with him.
Perfect.
He's awesome. Cliff's like he's one of my best friends, and every time he just went through a divorce and all this trauma, and I'm always like there for him whenever shit hits the fan. He was one of the first people I called after I found out about the affair and all that stuff. Like whenever some traumatic shit happens, I talk. It's like we're there for each other. Yeah. And he always laughs at how I'm the one that's so like helpful for him, because our personalities are very different. Like he's a very positive guy, and he's very upbeat, doesn't want to offend, worries about offending more than others. Like his comedy is very goofy and fun, where mine is more like opinionated and kind of like
edgy.
Edgy. I hate the fucking word, but yeah. And yeah, he always.
But you know why you get along though? Like you get along because you've been through similar crazy life. Like when you're talking about using logic and being logical and like that's how you deal with things. Do you know what I hear? Self-defense mechanism.
What, when I am trying to be logic?
I think you've been through so much, and you've been through so much chaos, and you've had so much chaotic things happen in your life, that logic probably feels safe for you.
Well,
am I right?
Logic rarely
fails.
It's true. You can have, there's bad logic, okay? You know what a great way to go and get rid of the coronavirus would be? Kill everybody infected and burn all their clothes and everyone that they associated in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the most logical solution if the end game is get rid of coronavirus.
Right.
But that's not the most humane. So you do have to have like
a balance.
It's kind of like how they say AI, like if you program AI to protect humans, and then they see that humans are, like destroying the ozone layer or they're overmining resources, then the AI may work against it to kill humans because humans are the threat to themselves.
Yeah.
I think that fucking Eagle Eye movie with Shia LaBeouf or whoever was a similar concept to it. It's been done. The question's been asked 100 times. It's actually a real concern for a lot of people that when it comes to AI, is like, what if the programming isn't clear and then it goes to harm us instead of when it's supposed to be helping us?
Mm-hmm. It's a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, but as far as I don't know if it's so much as a defense. There is truth in the defense mechanism.
Well, maybe defense mechanism isn't the right word, but
coping mechanism.
That might be the better word to describe it, because I mean, there's evidence that people who've experienced trauma become oddly calm when, like, later in life when things are going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
emotion has led me to some bad places, and they're highly illogical. Okay.
Yeah.
Emotion is my biggest whole thing that holds me back the most is emotion, because logic doesn't a lot of the things that I'm like insecure about are illogical to be insecure about them, right? A lot of things that you're insecure about, it's illogical. Okay.
Well, I mean, depends. It depends. Cause I mean, I've been using logic a lot lately, and just in regards to like men and like and it's as simple as like recording my own voice talking to me going, you can't make him love you. You can't make him love you.
Yeah.
That's logic.
Yes.
But for like, in terms of insecurities.
But there is an emotion in that logic that you have.
There is, but I'm reading this book called Codependent No More, because I'm a very codependent person, and I like helping. I like going for guys who need me, because I find that it gives me purpose to be needed. But being a codependent also means that you go for these men and you hope they'll eventually get better and change.
Yeah.
And be with you. And that's not, I can't be doing that right now, like at all. So,
I mean, I feel that a lot of ways too, because like, well, I'm a comedian. I'm an entertainer. That's what I always say would be on my business card, would be entertainer over anything else. Because it's like, I enjoy doing music.
Yep.
I enjoy doing comedy. I enjoy all these things. But where was I going with this? All of that. I talked about this in therapy before. Is my artistic pursuit in some way toxic because of the need for validation that comes with it? Any comedian that says, I'm just doing it because I want to be heard, man, is a lying piece of shit. It's like, yeah, that's part of what you want. But the other thing you want is you want those laughs. You want that validation.
That's widely
Typically,
accepted.
You want it because you didn't get it from your dad. Like, that's 99% of it, is that you felt like your parents never thought, they never really approved of the skill set that you did have. And now you need to get validation elsewhere. And so it's a danger in every relationship to make your self-worth based on the validation of the person that you're with, right?
Yeah. 100%. And like, that's kind of what I'm working on and learning right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, I'm getting much better at it. Just like facts, plain hard facts. Here are all the reasons. And I've written them down. Like, here are all the reasons that this person actually really isn't good for me. Despite all of these other things, which are very much so like, I would say like more so like sexual attraction based.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just went off the pill. So apparently when you go off the pill, you're attracted to a different type of guy.
Oh, really?
And I'm already kind of like feeling like, oh, okay, maybe this guy isn't the best.
Yeah.
And maybe that's all the self-help books I'm reading because of quarantine. Maybe that's a mixture of that plus biology. I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't know.
So what made things easier for me in dating was when maybe a lot of people don't have this luxury, but I just stopped giving a fuck. So when we're talking about logic versus emotion, I was in the worst relationship of my life where I was miserable. I stopped doing comedy. I stopped playing guitar. I basically lost all my self-worth. When I found out about certain things and the relationship ended, oh my God, that's the greatest thing ever. Because now I don't have to be in this horrible relationship anymore.
Yeah.
Now I can actually go out and be myself again. But guess what? I was traumatized by it all. I was an emotional fucking wreck. I wanted nothing more than to be back in that relationship. That was literally, I had said 1,000 times, God, this is horrible. This is the worst.
Why do you think you want to be back in it? Comfort?
Well, there's the idea of my parents are still together, and I was raised in a nuclear family, essentially. I had a mother, a father, and the 4 kids. Now, we weren't a typical family. All kinds of dysfunction there, and that, we basically don't say I love you. Like when my parents say I love you, it's like, oh, what are you doing? Like we just not that
my family was the same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very, very, like, again, it's a part of what created me who I am, because one of the ways that we showed affection was busting balls, was giving somebody shit. I don't recommend that I tell my kids I love them all the time. I also bust my kids' balls, but I also tell them I love them and that, I'm proud of them and stuff like that. But and I do that a lot. I make sure, because I don't want my kids to, have that same kind of insecurity, that I know where it came from.
Exactly.
But the emotion said I wanted to have, oh, geez, this family, which it didn't exist. It was like looking back at through rose-colored lenses or whatever. It's like this thing. It was like I was caught up in a swirl of what if, and it was like, what if things would have got better, or things could have been this way. You were thinking like a woman. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
100%.
An emotional, crazy bitch.
Yeah. Well, idealizing, you idealized.
Absolutely.
Rather than like seeing it for what it was.
Yeah, and there's still like a part of me that will go like, it sucks that things didn't work out in an idyllic way.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even hold on to me for like a second. It's literally like, sometimes I'll be like, whatever. Things are the way they are. Sucks that things, like, it sucks that Vaughn died, but what the fuck am I going to do? He's dead. It's nothing we can do now. All I can do is, move on and live my life the new way it is now, without that guy in my life as my friend. It's not that, it doesn't mean that, it's different with a friend in death than it is in a relationship, but emotion can basically just hold you in a really bad spot. And I went to a really dark, really bad spot. And then after it was like, I met this girl on Tinder. We went on a couple dates, hooked up a couple times, and maybe this was over the course of a month. And when she was like, hey, not sure if we should keep going with this, like, and it was mostly because of the kids. She's like, I don't have kids. You got kids. I'm not so sure about that. I got other things in my life that I might want to do, and I just don't know if making this commitment's the right thing for me right now. And like, I was fucking devastated over that. But that's because emotionally, I was looking at the fear of being alone for the rest of my life, because you stack up when you're in their emotion, especially in a negative emotion, you start to stack up all the potential negatives.
Yeah.
And potential negatives are endless, which is why honesty is so important in a relationship. Because if there's something that you have if you have like, is my partner acting this way because they're cheating on me? Or do they not like me anymore? Do they want out and do this, that? There's no clear answer there. And now you have to carry around the weight of all of those negative things. Where if you say to your partner, and you're probably afraid of nagging them, that nagging them might leave them or whatever. But if you say to them, look, I've been feeling this way. I need to know, is there any merit to how I'm feeling right now? That partner is either going to do one thing, take one of those negative scenarios and bring it into reality. And now you're equipped to now you just know what you have to deal with. Yeah, I don't love you anymore. Okay, I guess we got to break up, and now I got to deal with this process. Or they're going to say, like I had an ex-girlfriend of mine was talking about her boyfriend and how she felt like there was all this stuff going on. And when I said, you got to talk to him, and you got to talk to him tonight. And she went home, she asked him, and he said, I just feel bad because I've been laid off work and I feel like I'm not being that good of a provider. And I feel ashamed that I don't have a job and that you're paying all the bills. And it's like, oh, she was just dealing with, is he cheating on me? Does he not love me? Mm-hmm. Is he annoyed by this, that, the other thing? Is there a million things going on? And when there's a million things going on and you don't know what that negative thing is, you are now dealing with those million things as if they're real.
Yeah.
But once the thing that could have happened in her conversation with her boyfriend is, could have been like, you know what, I've been cheating on you. And she would have been like, that sucks. Now I got to deal with and do with what I would have to do with that. But turned out that it was not, it was just, he was ashamed that he felt like he was letting her down as a partner and as a provider. And she messaged back, she said, you're fucking right. Cause like, oh, look, it wasn't nearly as bad as what I thought it was.
Oh, 100%. But sometimes people do lie.
Sure.
There is the odd situation where you might come to your partner and be like, I think you might be cheating. And that partner has not yet, accepted that part of themselves or even admitted it to themselves. Maybe they're in denial too. And they might say things like, you're crazy. Why don't you trust me? And that's how gaslighting happens. And
it's true.
It can get, but I mean, listen, like, I think even just I think it can be scary to even bring those fears up.
Oh, it's absolutely.
It is really scary because you don't want to come off, I mean, especially as women, we don't want to come off as needy because we get the needy stigma a lot.
What happens when you come off as needy?
I mean, I think that you'd start to feel like you're overbearing to that person and you're too much and you instantly have to tone it down.
Anxiety.
Yeah. And judgment. And I feel like you would get judgment from your partner. Mm-hmm. You would feel like your partner's judging you.
So basically, again, what the response you gave me is emotional. And it's not so much in the realm of logic. It's logical. Logic and emotion are not oil and water. They're not mutually exclusive. They can be commingled. Like you can have an emotional response that is logical. But a lot of the time, it's rare that a logical conclusion gets to the wrong place. Right. Again, somebody could say kill everybody with COVID to get rid of this thing. But like, that's going to get shot down pretty quick in a logical conversation. When you're raising, doing a logical brainstorm of the potentials of a way to deal with the crisis, logic's the best way to do that.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that there's a lot of value in the whole innocent till proven guilty thing, is because you have to have a discussion really to figure out what is, the best way forward. And that's why, like, again, emotion may lead you to say, it's this, I know it's this, when it's not.
Yeah.
Emotion may lead you to, and I don't know, I just feel like logic is really the thing that fucks it over.
The worst thing for emotional people is tarot card readings.
Yeah, well,
because usually with a tarot card reading, you will hear exactly what you want to hear.
Same with your horoscope.
Yeah.
Same with fucking ghosts. Same with burning sage. What the fuck's...
I have to constantly keep it in check because it's something I'm intrigued in and interested in.
How old are you? You're 30 something now?
I'm 33, but like
you're 33.
I recently, like, I used to get...
You're bathing in essential oils, you're burning sage,
I'm not
reading
doing
your
that.
horoscope, and doing tarot card readings. You're about to be a doula.
I do a lot of tarot card readings, but I recently stopped. Okay, so I do these things online called pick a card readings, and you're going to roll your eyes so hard at this. But it's literally like a YouTube video that, like, where you pick, they'll show you like 4 or 5 decks, and you pick which one you're drawn to. And it'll give you a reading based on a question. They put the question in the title. So, like, usually if you look at them, they're all about relationships. And what are they all about? Unrequited love. Is he thinking about me? Does he miss me? Does he feel the same? Like, it's all these questions about women who are alone and wondering what is going on with that person. And I had to stop watching them because it was telling me too much of what I wanted to hear. This person's your soulmate. This person just needs to deal with his shit and he'll come back to you. Like, all of this stuff. I know it's real bad, but you'll be proud. I stopped watching them.
So this is the other thing I mentioned earlier, that I have a ton of broy friends that love their Blue Lobsters and their fucking hockey playing douchebag.
Yeah.
Fucking, they're rig pig oil workers. They're just like
rig pig.
They're just so bro. And like, one of my best friends is I call him the pinnacle of man, because he's just an uber douche. He's the biggest douche on the planet. Love him to death. He's a good guy, but he is the fucking dumbest guy in the world. He's also not that dumb. If he was here, he'd be laughing. He's one of my best friends. I do have that group of friends. I also have I have more hippie friends than probably the most hippie person.
Really?
You know. Yes.
So do you know
good close friends?
Have you ever had a tarot reading?
No, because like,
God, I would love to see that. I would fucking love to see you get a tarot card reading. Before Andrew died, Andrew Vaughn was going to do the podcast with a tarot card reader. We were going to record it.
Here's the thing about a tarot card reader. Why not just play 52 pickup? Why is there got to be a special person? There's fucking I shouldn't say. A friend of mine, beat the name, was talking about a friend of theirs that was doing some type of fucking energy reading.
Reiki or something?
Reiki, there you go. They were doing Reiki. And usually you go to Reiki and you hold the object in your hand, I guess, or you do whatever the fuck. You go and you feel the vibe, the zen, whatever. And they were doing, at home. Oh, don't worry, I can do my Reiki readings from the privacy of my home now. Yeah, imagine that, because it's fucking bullshit. Let me ask you, when people ask about the energy that a fucking gemstone keeps away from you, why do they never give us a tangible, measurable energy that they're talking about? They just say fucking energy. Well, you got to attract positive energy. It's like, man, shut the fuck up. Yes. Yeah, imagine that. If you're more positive about things, more positive things will happen.
I also think so much of this is so much of it is placebo.
Yeah. No shit.
I've been told
placebo.
I've been told by this person. I've been told by this person that I trust, or that I've put some value in, that this thing is supposed to be. I won't lie. I have amethyst, rose quartz, and I have I think another one on my nightstand still to this day, because I don't know why. I'm like, maybe it'll bring something my way.
This is
never.
the thing.
It never really does. It never really does. You know, like
the only reason I'm talking about this right now is because we're doing a podcast. Generally, I keep these conversations to myself or to the people that I'm talking to, like to my close friends, or to a one-on-one conversation.
This is a Scott MacLean exclusive.
But it's the same reason why I don't go into churches on Sunday and say, it's all bullshit, you idiots. What are you doing? You know, like God cares who you fuck? Why? He made Mars and the sun, and you think he gives a shit where you stick your dick? Like, obviously, but I don't do that. Like, I don't go up to my fucking 87-year-old aunt and say, hey, you know, you idiot, how could you be such a fool? And I don't want to do that. I don't want to spoil anybody shit, but at the same time.
But also let people enjoy. Like, if they enjoy it, let them enjoy it.
Yeah, but some of this stuff can be toxic, man. Like, I feel like
I would agree with that too. I would agree with that too. The extreme cases, okay.
You're set up to be taken advantage of.
Absolutely. I would agree with, and I fall right in the middle with tarot card readings. I do think that there's some, I don't know, I've had things said to me that I'm like, this seems
interesting crazy. That these mystical cards are manufactured and packaged by Chinese shop workers. Okay. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny that these things are mass produced? They have barcodes. Your mysticism has a fucking barcode.
You might be able to find
mysticism, your thing that has encapsulated the all the energies of the universe, which is able to open the door. It has a barcode. It goes beep when you scan it in a store.
I know.
What?
Yeah.
What do you fucking mean? And then Joe Blow, I mean.
Have you ever had any type of, okay, so, but here's my question to you.
I used to believe in a lot of this shit.
Take physical items out of that. So tarot cards, crystals, we're going to take all those out of it. Have you ever had an experience that felt otherworldly or kind of like fate?
I was talking to my kids about this the other day.
Yeah.
Literally, I think it was just yesterday we were talking about ghosts.
Ooh.
And I said, have you ever noticed that, or they said, so you don't believe in ghosts? And I was like, no. And I didn't want to fucking ruin their fun because campfires are a lot of fun and shit like that. And it's cool to be scared and stuff. But like nobody who doesn't believe in ghosts gets encountered by ghosts.
Yeah.
They did when they believed in ghosts. I got ghost stories. I got some paranormal shit I could tell you about. Scared the ever-living fuck out of me. But guess what? Hasn't happened since I stopped believing in that stuff.
That's interesting.
The Secret, okay? Let's take The Secret, right?
So visualization and manifesting.
The power of attraction.
Vision boards and all that.
Yeah. If you work really hard on something, good fucking chance you're going to do it. Like, if you spend every waking moment working towards a goal and you throw away everything else, there's a fucking high chance you're going to do it. That's going to come your way. If you spend all your time working towards it and, you know, that's positive energy. Nobody's spending all their time doing something and then feeling, you know, miserable about it, because eventually your misery is going to make you go, fuck it. It's the reason why every now and then I'll take a break from comedy, is because my just insecurity and self-loathing gets a hold of me. And then I go, ugh, fuck it. Who am I? And then I stop doing it for like a month or two because I feel like I have no self-worth. And then I go, oh, fuck that. You're funny. Get back and do it. And then I go up and I start killing it on stage. Then I have a bad set. And then, you know, it's either let that set go or look at it positively and go, hey, that's going to happen sometimes. You're going to take a couple bumps along the way. Keep going, bud. And guess what? The more I keep going, the more doors open. Look at what fucking happened with this goddamn kitchen party thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been wanting to do live music performing forever, and I have done it. I've been the lead role in musicals, several musicals recently, 2 years ago, and I did all the choreography for all the dances that I was in.
I saw that you posted an Instagram story of like an old play or something.
Yeah, I
That's
mean
crazy.
that story was from fucking grade 12. That was
Wow.
years ago. But 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, I was in The Music Man. I was Harold Hill, and I was the lead role. I had 6 solos, and I did all the choreography for all my songs. Made it. Some of the choreography for the entire cast. But for some reason, there was always something that stopped me from doing live musical performances.
Right.
Now, if I'm at a campfire, whatever. But I was always like nervous about doing a live performance with my guitar. And then
In front of a physical crowd.
in front of a physical crowd. It's definitely easier in the kitchen.
And you're literally in a kitchen.
Absolutely. But it's definitely, when all this is over, it's definitely building up my confidence to think, oh, I could actually go out and do this live, and I could be fun, even if I'm not the best, because I am entertaining at the very least. I feel like a lot of like artists have that, you know, they have that either like humble, like, well, this next song I was having a rough time. I'm just like, all right, here's a good song. Let's play this or
But
whatever.
people like that.
Yeah, and with some people like the tortured artist thing. I just like the honesty thing. But anyway, since I started playing this music and saying fuck it, I don't care. I like to do it. I'm gonna do it. Just this week on Monday, they had talked about this performance on the radio in Antigonish. And
Hell yeah.
we got an article on nsbuzz.ca talking about it.
It's amazing.
And I'm imagining, I don't know, maybe this Saturday it'll be back down to 20 people. But I feel like it'll probably be...
Don't think that, because you know what? You did it. And that's like half the battle is actually doing it and committing to it.
Well, again, the negative, so we'll call that thing that says maybe there'll only be 20 people on this one. You could say that that's projecting a negative outlook into the universe, and that means the universe will respond to me negatively. If I hold on to that negativity and then manifest that through my actions, i.e., if I get filled with apathy and go, oh, that was just a one-time thing, it's never going to happen again, and then I prevent myself from preparing and performing and making sure I was ready to do the things necessary to bring in an audience, then because my negative thoughts have caused my physical actions to not do. So
to be affected.
That's where you can say there's truth in the secret, but
I think the difference is you're doing more than just the people that I don't like are only the people who envision things but don't act on opportunity. So like you're talking
to one of them right now.
You did do it.
Struggle. I did.
That's taking action. The people who just sit back and say, I see myself doing this and I'm going to see myself doing that, and they don't actually do anything, those people I don't think will get anywhere.
Well, they
things don't just fall into your lap. Like I've heard this phrase like on a couple podcasts, act as if you already, so in other words, like act as if you're the comedian you want to be. Even if you have a bad set, act as if.
Well, dude, I have, like, lately, as far as comedy goes, like, before all this fucking lockdown happened, I was pretty much fucking crushing. Even when I wasn't, like, absolutely tearing the fucking house down, I wasn't having bad sets. My bad sets were, like, really good sets. And it was because
you embodied it.
Yeah, confidence has a lot to do with it, and commitment has a lot to do with it. Who was it? It was Jordan Peterson. I know a lot of your viewers would probably think that he's evil, but he has this thing where he says, treat yourself as if you're somebody who you care for.
Yeah.
Would you go and tell somebody that you care for that you think they're fucking shit and they shouldn't try? No. You try to encourage that person to go after that thing they do. And I do that all the fucking time. I'm great at giving advice. I'm terrible at heeding my own. Because there are 1.5 million things that I want to do that I haven't pushed myself enough to do.
Yet.
And yet. But I mean,
but maybe
slowly
it takes,
I chip away.
But maybe it takes accomplishing little goals to get you to the big goal.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. There's
confidence building.
There's that book, and I've never read it, but I feel like I probably understand the entire message of the book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I have it, yeah.
Because not giving a fuck it's the way it is. And when
it can
you
be hard
look
sometimes
at it,
not to give a fuck, though.
It's hard because, putting yourself out there is hard.
Oh, yeah.
When you put yourself out there and you succeed, like, it's kind of funny because, like, okay, a lot of times when I would do musical performances, I take a lot of shit. I give a lot of shit. I bust a lot of balls, so a lot of people bust balls. A lot of people don't take me seriously because I try not to take things too seriously, because in the end we're all gonna fucking die and we're all just floating on this goddamn rock through the sun, and ultimately life is pretty much fucking meaningless.
We're gonna get there because I have a follow-up question about that.
Okay, but not giving a fuck, like I've said to my friends, and I get this way when I'm drinking more, is I've said to my friends before, like, it's all a video game. Like, if none of it's real. Like, we'll go downtown and I'll just, like, the amount of times I should have been punched in the face for the shit that I've said to people, but I've gotten away with it and made friends with the people that I've been, like, busting their balls.
Yeah.
And I've got friends of mine who are like, man, I can't believe you said that. And I'm like, it's all a video game. Like, that. None of it's real. It's like, you see this guy, like, okay, there's 200 people that were watching me play guitar, but in all honesty, what do those 200 people have as a real tangible effect on my life day to day? You know, I still got to wash the fucking dishes. I still got to make my food. I still got to wipe my ass. I still have real shit that I got to deal with. A stranger who writes some shit about you or doesn't like you, it's like, all right, whatever. You're going to find somebody that you're going to find your audience, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and if you just don't give a fuck about what other people think, as long as your intention is not malicious, then I don't think you're doing anything wrong.
No, of course not.
And that's a hard thing for me, is that, especially with my, like, fucking opinions that I have that are not particularly popular, is that I have to remind myself my intention is not to be malicious. I really don't want to hurt anybody's feelings ever. And if I do, I apologize for the fact that you got hurt, and I'll listen to your side. And honestly, if you come back at me with a logical argument, then I may concede to your logic, if it's logic. But if it's emotional based, you don't know what it's like to be that type of person. It's like, well, you don't know what it's like to be me. So how can I'm going to stack up your you don't know what it's like against somebody else's you don't know what it's like? And then what do you have when two people, like, if let's say it's like somebody who's been assaulted, okay, who's getting
sexually or
no, well, whatever, you can say sexually or whatever. I mean, I was going to say sexually assaulted or whatever, because that's more. I'm trying to be less egregious to make my point work. But okay, we'll say sexually assaulted because that was where I was going to go. Yeah. Some people say that have been sexually assaulted will say, you can't make a joke about this thing. And then there's other people who have been sexually assaulted who say, yeah, you can.
Right.
Now what? Now that you've got two people from the same demographic who don't agree on a certain thing, what is the tool that we use to decipher who is right? And I think logic is that tool. So when it comes to shoot comedy, for instance. You can't joke about that. Well, can't you change the fucking channel?
Yeah.
Can't you not watch it? Can't you go, you know what?
Well, it's free speech at the end of the day.
This guy's, it's not for me. And that's why I believe in free speech to the utmost. I don't like that Alex Jones isn't on fucking YouTube or Facebook or anything like that, because I like to know what crazy people are saying.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, when you close the door to conversation, you open the door to violence. And that's how Trump got elected, was that people, if you were a Trump supporter, you were a racist, a sexist, a blah, 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 blah. And look, I'm not a fucking Trump fan by any means. Like, I think the guy's a colossal asshole. I don't know how anybody could vote for. I don't know how you could be so dumb to think that a billionaire who spent a career ripping off blue-collared people has blue-collared people's interest in mind. You are not thinking straight if you think that guy has your interest, your best interest. But Americans are fucking notorious for voting against their best self-interest. But it's pick a side. It's a blue tie or a red tie. It's, I'm conservative and I'm Democrat. And I'm like, there's people who voted for Obama who also voted for Trump. Yeah. So you can't call all Trump supporters racist. And so when you have, basically when you have, I guess I've said it, is when you have two people who have differing opinions, but they are from the same, we'll call it the afflicted demographic. They are the victims of the thing that you are talking about. One says it's okay, one says it isn't.
So in other words, two people who have been sexually assaulted.
My fucking joke, my David Attenborough joke, okay? Yeah. About, it's a quote-unquote rape joke, because it says the word rape in it. It's not a rape joke at all, but it says the word rape in it. Yeah. So it's a rape joke. I've heard it from both sides. Mm-hmm. I've heard it from one person who passionately stood outside of a comedy club and told me, you shouldn't say this ever again. I wish you wouldn't. I know that you're just trying to be funny, but it's a thing that affected me, and I still deal with this and all this. And they stated their case. And you know what I did? I nodded my head. I said, you know what? I apologize. Didn't mean to cause any offense. I really appreciate you telling me this, and I hope I didn't ruin your night. I hope you can still. And they were like, you know what? It's okay. Whatever. They went back in. They enjoyed the rest of the show. I agreed to that person. I would never tell a joke again. I told the joke the next night, okay? But that person's never going to see me do comedy again. There's a very low chance that person's ever going to see me. I've also had significantly more people who I know have been sexually assaulted hear me tell the story about this other one and say, that person's a fucking idiot, because that's not what the joke's about. I've have a joke where I say, I kind of like criticize the gay pride parade, mainly because I think pride's dumb. I think pride's especially dumb when you are born away, when it's something that happened to you. Racial pride is stupid. Pride's the wrong word. It's a lack of shame is what you have, not pride. You shouldn't be proud of something that you happen to be. So the pride parade, I have this joke about how it started off just people wanting to be accepting, and part of it was to say we're not just the stereotype, we're just people, you know. And but then, you know, you have a parade of nothing but the stereotypes, and again, right. This is a comedy bit, it works better on stage. Yes. But ultimately it comes down to the point of I'm not saying we should stop the gay pride parade. I'm saying somewhere between the dildo float and the crotchless leather pants dance, there should be a bunch of normal gay guys like, hey,
I'm gay.
We're gay too.
Yeah. No, it's a smart joke. But
then I say in the joke, we don't do all that faggy shit. We're just gay. Yeah. And I told that joke in 2009. And I've told it recently. I was told recently that joke is, because I said faggy, that is borderline hate speech. But it's funny because when I told that joke, you know, however many years ago, very close friends of mine, two guys that were a couple were like, they were thanking me for telling the joke because they feel the same way.
They relate.
They're like, we feel like we're not represented by the gay pride parade because it's so flamboyant, and we're like, we're just normal fucking dudes that drive 4-wheelers and play paintball, and everybody, like, people say to them, oh, I didn't know you were gay. You don't seem gay.
Yeah.
What do you mean seem gay? You just are gay. But the parade, and again, I'm not saying it should be stopped because I think it's a good thing ultimately. I think the overall message is good, or at least the original message is good.
Yes.
But you know, like a lot of people, they hear the word, they say, oh, that's the bad thing. They forget the message of the fucking joke, which is like, not all gay people are the same. They're not a fucking homogenous entity that all have a hive mind and are the exact same thing. Isn't that progressive?
Yeah.
And I know people get fucked up with words, but it's like, that word, I don't say it more I've never heard it said more by anybody than a gay person. Because they're usually just busting each other's balls, or I'm busting theirs. Because if you're the type of person that hangs out with me, and then people throw that, oh, are you going to give me you have a gay friend argument? And it's like, that's a good argument. Because again, this is a person who you are alleging to speak up for.
Yeah, exactly.
And they disagree with you.
They're supporting your joke. Yeah.
So then you go, where, what do you do? Okay, we have obviously there's gay people out there who think that me saying that word is fucking horrible. And obviously I personally know people from both ilks. What do you do now? When
What's the consensus?
And how do you get to, is it okay?
I don't think that there is one.
There is one. There is. And how do you get there? You get there through logic.
Yeah.
Because especially the one that's saying you can't say that is an emotionally based argument because of how it has made them feel. And you know what? It's like, and this is why it's such a difficult conversation, is because I empathize with that. I do really know what it's like to be told, maybe not, I'm not gay, so I don't fully empathize in that sense. Empathize. You can understand what people feel, what it's like to feel ostracized by a group of people for a bunch of different things. You may not feel it in the exact same way. Nobody can truly empathize with any other person on the planet because you've never lived your entire life with all of their experiences.
Yeah.
So what the question becomes is, okay, how do we decide whether or not that joke is okay to say? And it comes down to intention and in context. True. So if your intention is malicious, because I could make a malicious intended joke. They exist by the thousands where people are saying like mean things about that thing and they're really intended to hurt that person. That's a bad joke.
Yeah.
If you are saying a joke, but your intention is not to harm, and it's truly, I mean, I'm talking sincerely, not to offend, but to just get a rise. And I can't even say not to offend, because sometimes like the joke might be like to play with the offense, to play with the offensive thing. But even then, the intention is not malicious. You're not going out to hurt anybody or to bring them down. And that is where logic is. And that's where logic creates that bridge between, I guess, truth and emotion, as it goes, how do we figure out which one's which? And logic is what gets you there. It's saying this person, I always give the argument of if I'm in a mall in the States and there's a shooting going on and I grab a gun and I try to shoot the guy that has the gun, and I miss and I hit a 8-year-old little girl and kill her. Am I a vicious child murderer? Because a vicious child murderer would shoot an 8-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
But I had no intentions to do that.
Right.
Now, is that to say that guns aren't dangerous? No. But
your intent wasn't to kill. Your intent was to do something good.
The intention's the only way you can make a determination of what a person will do next. So Sam Harris had said that in his book about, I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think it was The Moral Landscape, about how if I'm holding a knife and I turn around and I accidentally stab my girlfriend with the knife because I just like carelessly turned around and I accidentally hit her.
That would suck.
And she gets hurt. If I swing at her to try to hurt her and I cut her, the same cut, the same depth, the same amount of pain, but I swung at her in anger.
Yeah.
Versus I turned around and hit her accidentally.
Makes all the difference.
It makes an astronomical difference. And I feel like in this world, we've lost that a lot. It's like we just look at the end result and go, well, it's probably the worst possible scenario, so you're now responsible for that act.
I was talking about this like with a friend last night, like about the idea of like cancel culture. Like, can I
grab one beer right quick?
Yes, actually, I'm gonna get another drink too. Let's go do that. Drink break.
All right. So you were talking about this with a friend about cancel culture.
So and I'm gonna mention this with you specifically because I know you listen to Joe Rogan, and I've gone down a Joe Rogan rabbit hole. Like I've just been.
Which there's nothing to be ashamed about it.
Nothing. And I didn't know that, but
Joe Rogan says some dumbass things and has some dumbass opinions. But he also has a lot of non-dumbass opinions.
Exactly. So I didn't know about his dumb opinions.
Else in the world. Yeah.
And I've been posting on Instagram just like Joe Rogan clips and stuff. And then I had a friend message me be like, hope you're not a femcel now. Like
a what?
A femcel, like a female.
Jesus.
Like,
I hope you're not part of that group that I can now write off your opinion because I've taken one word and I use it to discredit you.
But like I was watching and listening to a lot of Joe Rogan and like loving it, and I had no idea that like he had said these like controversial things. And I just realized that I'm not someone who's so immediate to like cancel somebody.
Yeah, nor should you.
But some people are. Some people literally will hear one bad thing about a person or a company and just be done. Just write them off completely for the rest of time.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't have nuance anymore. I mean, I can speak to that so intimately for so many reasons, just on physical appearance alone, okay? So right now, I got the fucking, I'm white guy central, okay? A lot of people would go, yeah, he would think this about like the things that I say. But I've been fat and I've had long hair. I've had shoulder length hair. Yeah. When I noticed, so when I was 19, I had hair down to here. And I noticed when I had long hair and kind of looked like a surfer, like hippie, kind of like skateboardy guy, wearing the same clothes, wearing the same, like I was in shape back then. So I'd wear like a nice, like a shirt that showed it off, smoke it if you got them kind of thing. I was 19, right? And I'd have long hair and I'd be my goofy, loud, obnoxious fucking self. And I've toned down a lot in my older age than I used to be. But when I had long hair, people were a lot more accepting of me versus when I got a fucking crew cut or whatever and a short haircut, and then in the exact same clothing, the exact same personality, the exact same. I mean, I literally noticed it the day I got my haircut was that, like, you know, I'd go to a party at our student res and I'd be loud, ball-busting Scott, and people would be laughing. Ha, 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 he's a crazy, goofy guy. Then I did it with this hair, and people were like, oh, that guy's kind of like a bro-y. Like, he must think he's the shit. Mm-hmm. I've been fat, and then I've been in shape. I've been in, like, really good shape, and I've been in really bad shape. I've felt that difference of the way people treat you when you're out of shape versus when you're in shape. Right. When I was working at the mall, I have good posture and like it's almost exaggerated posture. A lot of people say I puff out my chest and I look like I'm I strut, and I don't mean to strut. That's just how I fucking walk. It's just the thing I do. And one of the girls that worked at the cell phone booth around the corner from me, she used to come out and hang out with us whenever it was slow. She had said she saw me at the mall with my kids one day, and I got these adorable 2-year-old twin boys, and I'm going, all right, we're going onto the escalator. 1, 2, 3, jump. And we spent like 10 minutes going up and down the escalator. Next day, she comes over and she's like, oh my God, I saw you here with your kids the other day. And, it's funny. I see you at the mall, like when you're regularly like just walking around, and you kind of like walk around like you think you own the place. But then I saw you with your kids and I was like, oh, he's actually kind of sweet. And it's like, what do you mean? I think I own the place. But people see you and they go, we want to be able to understand the world.
Uh-huh.
So how do you understand the world in a better way than by simplifying everything? Yeah. So what you can do is you can look at someone like Joe Rogan, who has a fucking sleeve and is jacked and is an MMA fighter and who talks to people like fucking Ben Shapiro and stuff. And you can go, right-wing fucking asshole, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, Joe Rogan's a lefty. He's a lefty. He's very much a lefty. He's just like most left-leaning centrists these days who are upset about the far left as much as they are about the far right.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, the far left is more dangerous right now because I don't think many people take the far right that seriously. We all know that those Trump support, if all the people who are left-leaning voted, Trump wouldn't have made it in. But a lot of people who are left-leaning are apathetic because, this whole system it has a lot of fucking issues that we don't believe in. And it looks like the game's rigged, which it is. And so they have apathy and they go, fuck, what's the point in voting? Blah, blah, blah. And so then but guess who isn't like that? The fucking crazy right-wingers. And they are going to be like, we're going out. They don't trust the government, but God damn it, I'll vote for that guy who's running for president because he tells it like it is when he just talks like a fucking dismissive asshole on the right side. So it's easy to write people off. Like I had a conversation with this guy about the Colin Kaepernick Neil. I think we talked about this actually.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because Vaughn gave me shit about that.
That's right.
And again, Vaughn wrote off my fucking entire opinion because I had an irrelevant detail fucked up when I talked about Kaepernick on the podcast the last time.
Oh, okay.
I had said it was about racism in America when it was police brutality or whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
Completely irrelevant to what I was saying, which was this guy was saying, fuck that guy, he should stand. I served in Iraq and one of my best friends died in my fucking arms for that flag. This is a guy who was born in a family and circumstances that led him to think that joining the military was a noble cause.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's like, support the troops, don't support the generals so much. Right. It's like, I do support those people because they literally, again, with their intention, many of them are going out there doing what they think is right. Even if what they think is wrong, like even if they think it's wrong, they still think it's right. So, this guy, he went out and his buddy died in his fucking arms. And he's like, he died for that flag. And by God, if you don't stand for that flag, you're spitting in the face of my friend. And I was like, well, look, man, I was like, take it on the other hand. This guy is just a guy minding his own fucking business. And he's living in this country and he has police pulling him over and his friends over and harassing them, doing street checks and giving him shit just because he's black, literally, I mean, a lot of the time it's no other reason. And he's he feels like he's in his own country. He feels like he's unwanted.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kneeling against that. Now, when I first started talking to this guy, my friend Courtney was there, and she was like, she said when he started saying that, she was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be bad. Scott's going to fucking get into it with this guy. And then what ended up happening, because instead of me saying, fuck you, you dirty racist piece of shit, how fucking dare you, I tried to literally calmly give him some perspective on the other side of things. And we got somewhere. Right. He still thought, at the end of the day, he still thought he should be standing for the flag. And can you fucking blame him? He grew up like patriotism is taught.
Yes.
It's taught. If I have my kids and I teach them that the fucking lampshade is God, they're going to believe that the lampshade is God because we're a product of our environment. The people that keep us comfortable, the people that feed us, that love us, that give us good things, we trust those people. And if those people instill bad ideas into your fucking head, guess what? You're going to believe those bad ideas. And how do you get those bad ideas out of somebody's head? Do you ostracize them and push them away and say you're a piece of shit and you should know better? How should they know better if they've never been exposed to better? So what do you do when you see someone like that? You expose them to better, and you do it calmly and slowly with empathy and understanding that this person didn't have all the advantages that you have that led you to your better opinion on things. Yeah. Right? Daryl Davis, the black guy that converted over 200 KKK members, they were KKK members. They wanted him dead. They thought that he should go back to Africa. Did he fucking say, fuck you guys, you should all burn in hell? No, he sat down and had a conversation with them. And sometimes that conversation took years, but he converted like grand dragons, like people that were the I don't know if it's that terminology is right, but he converted people who were like the leaders of different KKK sects, and that has an exponential effect. Yes. He didn't just convert one person; he converted one person who's a father, who's going to have kids and expose his new ideas to his children, who will expose their new ideas to their friends and their children and their co-workers. So all of our actions, they have this exponential influence on the rest of the world. And that's the same true as doing something the right way as it is doing the wrong. And I feel like when you're like Joe Rogan, he talks to people on the right. He talks to Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is an ass and a troll on a lot of topics, but he's also not totally wrong on some topics too.
Well, this is it. Like
most people are fucking dumb in some way.
And like too, it's like, I do think that there's levels, but people can do terrible things or think terrible things, but still have good points. Or make like good things. Yeah. Like use Woody Allen. Like some people still enjoy Woody Allen movies. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that they support him, all the shitty things he's done.
Yeah, fucking.
You know?
I don't even know what happened. I read up on that.
Like he married his daughter?
Yeah, a daughter-in-law, right?
Oh, was it a daughter-in-law or
it was a daughter-in-law?
Was it an adopted daughter?
No, I think it was a daughter-in-law. I thought it was like he had a. We could probably fucking Wikipedia pretty quick. It's irrelevant. It wasn't
by blood, though.
It wasn't by blood.
Regardless, that's fucked up. It's still fucked up.
She was 12 or something like that, or 14 or something like that. Obviously.
But people are still allowed to enjoy Woody Allen movies and appreciate that Woody Allen movie for whatever it meant to them, because it clearly affected them.
If he says the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius, he's still right about that. If he says the freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius, he's still right about that.
Yeah.
So even though, and again, there's a really good book that I highly recommend, again, to another guy who's just been bastardized by these type of people who hear one thing and then immediately peg you as the demon. And
Right.
that's Sam Harris. And it happened when he was on fucking Bill Maher with Ben Affleck, who tried to tell him he was Islamophobic because...
That Sam Harris was Islamophobic, or Ben?
Yeah, that Sam Harris is Islamophobic. Ben Affleck basically would have heard... The reason that it started was Sam Harris was having a thought experiment. And in a philosophical thought experiment, you may discuss things that are horrifically wrong. Like, is it morally right to eat babies?
Uh-huh.
Now, no, you don't want to eat a baby. But when you have the philosophical conversation about this, you actually pick apart each side and go, okay, well, the world's overpopulated and we want to make sure, like, you can actually...
You just gave me a new debate
advocate.
Subject.
Yeah. That's a good one to have. That's actually a really good one.
I have to write that one down.
So one of the conversations that he had discussed on a podcast, or maybe in an article that he had written, was that if somewhere in let's say Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia or whatever, or some Middle Eastern country, you can say fucking take any country, take your pick. But this particular one was about I can't remember exactly what country it was, but there was a push for getting nuclear arms, and there's a lot of fanatics in the country that if they fell into the wrong hands, they may decide to make it a nuclear strike against America. And they were having the question, or he was discussing the question, would it be moral for the United States to have a nuclear first strike against another country? And it was a predominantly Muslim country in this particular question. That got, and he said yes, basically, because...
Sam Harris said yes?
Yeah, if it was like, let's say ISIS got a nuke, a hold of a nuke, and they were going, and there was like, without a doubt question, they knew beyond all reasonable doubt that a nuclear strike was going to be planned against states, and they had to find a way to would it be moral for the United States to make the and he was saying, like, we're living in a world, just take Russia, take China, and all the tensions that are happening globally right now. If we find out intel that says that there's a strong possibility that one of these countries is going to implement a nuclear strike against North America, do we not, like, there's a moral obligation? Is there a moral obligation to be the first actor of a nuclear strike to stop someone else from doing it? And
right,
it's a philosophical question.
Yes. And
so he got picked apart, and
so Sam Harris was saying yes, it is okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was saying, well, what is a country supposed to do other than to try to protect their people? And if you look at the morality, I mean, he's not saying, oh, America is ultimately innocent in anything. He's not, but he also has this philosophical experiment or thought experiment of the perfect weapon. And this is back during Osama bin Laden and versus George W. Bush. And he was saying, imagine the perfect weapon. A perfect weapon is like a bullet that gets fired from a gun and it always hits its target. We can rest assured that the American government, we can probably say that they would fire that weapon and it would only kill the people they intended to kill. And you wouldn't have collateral damage blowing up fucking schools and hospitals and shit like that. The same cannot be said about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, if they had the perfect weapon, would enact a 9/11 again.
Right.
America, it's unlikely. And now again, you can weigh that against the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, stuff like that, where America torpedoed their own fucking cruiser or whatever in Vietnam as a precedent to go to Vietnam. There's things like that, but anyways, Sam Harris, where was it going? In his book was talking about Uday Hussein, who's Saddam Hussein's son. And Saddam Hussein's son was a fucking psychopath in like the biggest degree. He would see a wedding procession come out and his gang would like rape fucking guests and the bride and kill the groom. And they were like absolutely psychotic, like horrible fucking people. And what he said in this is and his thing was about free will, was when Uday Hussein was born, he was a baby's like an innocent, clean slate. And they're taught by their parents how to act morally in the world. Well, Saddam Hussein used to take his 3-year-old son. Now, I don't know, I got all the details and specifics right about this, but he would take his child into the rooms where he was torturing political prisoners and killing them. And they'd laugh while they cut off people's fucking fingernails. Yeah. If you're a 3-year-old kid, an innocent child, and you get exposed to that and you see your father laughing about it, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. There's no way that doesn't affect you.
If he has that, he also has money, like crazy money, that he can do whatever he wants because his father runs the whole goddamn place and encourages him to torture these people. Hey, stab him in the kidneys, you know, like 4-year-old child, 8-year-old child, 16-year-old son, go do these things.
Yeah.
When did that kid go from innocent child who's the product of unfortunate circumstances to he should know better?
Right.
If you're raised in and like that's an extreme case.
Very extreme.
Now take it down to, you know, I think the fucking moon landing's a hoax, right? You can write that person off as a complete asshole, or you can kind of go, or, you know, we'll go back to the Colin Kaepernick thing. You're not taking a knee. You're raised in a place where, you know, you say the Pledge of Allegiance every goddamn morning and you're a proud American because that shit's been driven into your fucking head and you're told this is what you do. When I was in grade 7, I had a conversation. I remember saying to my science teacher, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, when I was having a conversation about whether or not homosexuality was right. Now, if I hear somebody say that today, I'll tell that person, I'll have a fucking rant ready for that person to explain why they are an ass for holding that opinion. But I was raised in an environment where the people that raised me thought that. And guess what? The people that raised me who thought that, they don't think like that anymore either. Because they were exposed to these new ideas.
Some people don't get
people don't get the opportunity to get there.
Right. Like Dax Shepard was talking about on his podcast. Or no, sorry, it was on Whitney Cummings' podcast, but he was a guest on it. Mm-hmm. And he's been known to like just say his opinions that might be considered unpopular, like yourself. And he was saying that like he even sort of relates to the COVID protesters, like the people who are protesting. Sure. And he said the reason why I relate is those people clearly grew up like with parents that lied to them.
Yeah.
Their parents lied to them their whole lives. They've always questioned everything. They don't know what to believe.
But you know what's easier? To just go black, white, they're evil. They're stupid.
It's
wrong.
Easier. It's more comfortable.
Not to consider that the person is a fucking human being. That
people are the way they are. People are the way they are for a reason. This is all. Yeah. I've always believed this. There's always, even if you think about the shooter the most recent shooting here in Nova Scotia, like something happened there.
Well, there's
something going on there.
What was his name? I can't remember his name. I usually remember his goddamn name. But he's the guy that shot up Kent State University. Is it Kent State University? Some university down in the States. When it was back in like the 60s or something like that. And he went up a bell tower with a sniper rifle and started shooting at people.
Yeah.
He wrote a suicide note before he killed his wife and kid and then went and shot down however many fucking people from this bell tower.
Yeah.
He wrote he didn't understand where these thoughts of rage were coming from.
Yeah.
But he couldn't prevent them. They were taking
couldn't contain
over.
them. Yeah.
He's like, I need you guys to look at my brain and for medical research. And guess what they discovered? He had a golf ball sized tumor pushing against his amygdala, which is part of the brain that it's either the emotional response or I believe it might have something to do with aggression.
Oh, so, yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Again, like Dr. Penfield, I smell burnt toast. There's no toast burning.
And he
did was put a fucking thing on. You're a product of your environment. Like I don't believe in free will insofar as, well, scientifically it doesn't exist. It just doesn't make sense. Phyllis, I guess.
Interesting. I wouldn't take you to not believe in that.
I act as if I do. I live my life every day as if I do. I believe it's probably the right way is to believe in free will. But scientifically, it doesn't make sense.
Can you break that down? Like, what do you mean it doesn't make sense?
Okay, here. I can basically prove it right now. Again, it's hard for people to agree with this, but name a celebrity.
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Okay. Why Ben Affleck?
I had him pulled up in the Google search right here beside me.
Why did you have him? But why? You just mentioned Dak Shepard. And you're a big Taylor Swift fan. And you know hundreds of other celebrities. But you came up with one. Okay? Well,
it's mostly because I looked over.
I'll give you that, okay? Name a fruit.
Banana.
Why not apple? Why not grape? Why not orange? Why not one of the other bunch of different fruits that you know of?
So things just, yeah, actually, what was I going to say? With meditation, they tell you to like think about the fact that you sit down and stand up. Like we don't always think about when we sit down, stand up. And if we try to, like, there's no way we'll get all of them in a day because we're just so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, try meditating for fucking 15 minutes. All you're going is going, don't think of anything. Don't think of anything. Don't think of anything. And next thing you know, you're thinking about the fucking, shit, I got to flip the laundry. And then you're off on this diatribe that you didn't even know you didn't even want to have because all you've been doing is try to focus on not thinking about anything. It's right. Because, and they've done studies on this, which is, and again, this is in the book that I had mentioned earlier, in Sam Harris's, it's called Waking Up.
Yes, I actually have the app. I have a free month of the app. I'm going to try it.
Yeah. So Waking Up, he has an app, he has a podcast called Waking Up, but he has a book called Waking Up. And you can actually get it all on YouTube. The whole audio book, you can get it on Audible. I'd say go on Audible and pay the money because the guy's a fucking genius.
He is, yeah.
So fucking smart. I hate the amount of flack that he's been getting because he's a lefty who's been attacked by leftists. But yeah, you can't attest for why you chose a banana.
It just came. Yeah.
Out. And so what they have done is they did these tests where, let's say and again, I'm simplifying it because I don't know the specifics, so we're going to paraphrase here. But essentially they said, choose triangle, circle, square. And they had a person's brain monitored by whatever fucking equipment that again, dumb guy who listens to smart people, doesn't know all the details, but, listens to it enough that he can understand. Brain's hooked up, they're monitoring the brain activity, and they say, choose triangle, circle, square, triangle, circle, square. And they keep giving them the same fucking response. And then they go, okay, when they're saying triangle, this part comes up or shows activity. When they say circle, this one. And so they have all this done on a chart. And what they did is they took people who didn't know the answers, look at the reading of the activity, and they were able to predict when he was going to say triangle, when he was going to say circle, when he was going to say square. And that part of the brain activity that they were monitoring was part of the unconscious brain. And that unconscious part of the brain flips a switch or activates a few nanoseconds before the conscious part of the brain does.
It's like word association.
So essentially, the conclusion of it is our conscious self is downstream from unconscious processes that are occurring in our brain.
Yeah.
So, and like, it's a crazy, interesting book. He talks about split brain patients who have their corpus callosum sliced so that it's the part that connects both hemispheres.
Mm-hmm.
And one of your hemispheres controls your mobile movement, and one of your hemispheres controls your speech. And so they would ask you, what do you want to be? What would be your dream profession?
Right.
Write it down. And they'd cover their hand, write it down. And then they would say it out loud. And that person would say out loud, race car driver. But then written down on the page was carpenter.
Interesting.
So the same brain, the same person, but two hemispheres responding differently. And that was a question of whether or not it was moral to do a hemispherectomy or something like that, where you actually, because some people get cluster migraines or something like that, or a certain type of seizure, where slicing, I think it's the corpus callosum, will prevent those seizures from happening. Or sometimes you remove the entire one side of a brain. I think it's called a hemispherectomy.
Okay.
And he was kind of saying, like, is a hemispherectomy murder, considering that this hemisphere said carpenter and this one said race car driver.
It's like a total different part of yourself.
Really, really interesting, cool book. And it goes deep into, like, I mean, the guy's a neuroscientist first.
Yeah.
But he's also spent 6-month retreats out in the middle of nowhere by himself doing meditation things. A lot of people say he's a shill for Buddhism because he has so much, he kind of like promotes meditation so much.
Yes.
But he doesn't believe, that Buddha was born out of a slit in the side of his mother's stomach, which is what the Buddha story is. Like, there's a creation or an immaculate conception story in Buddhism as well. He doesn't believe in that. It's a guide to spirituality without religion, or a scientific guide to spirituality, or something like that. That's the subtitle of the book. So really cool stuff.
Have you ever done hallucinogens?
All kinds.
Because that's another rabbit hole I've been going down lately. Is the
Have
DMT?
You been doing them or just reading up?
Reading up about them, like DMT and ayahuasca.
I haven't done either of those. I've done LSD. I've done MDMA and mushrooms. I do mushrooms every 6 months to a year. Like,
would you ever do one of those intenser ones like ayahuasca or?
I'd love to. I'm just afraid of getting it from an untrustable source. I mean, have you read up about it, like the crazy things people see? I watched the old Joe Rogan clip where he talks about it on that that radio show, and they're like, "Man, I'm a student of Joe Rogan right now," and he explains all of that.
He talks about it a lot.
And I've listened to Terrence McKenna. And I've listened to all kinds of these guys talk about it. I have friends that have done it.
Really?
Friends that have done it. And I mean, I really want to do those ones just to, you have to do these things cautiously.
Absolutely.
I'll say this. Everybody in the world, it's an offense to a conscious being to not experience altered states of consciousness.
Yeah.
Everybody should do, I would say, mushrooms. 100,000%. Should do
why?
it.
Why do you think that?
Because one, it helps destroy your ego.
Which is apparently really good for depression and anxiety.
It is. It's also a bad thing. There's also a lot of bad to destroying your ego. Like, you can go too far.
Yeah.
Again, I recommend these things as, like, I would say quarterly would be the most I would recommend it. But I've also microdosed for a number of weeks. And I've noticed the benefits of microdosing, where you take like 0.5 milligrams of mushrooms every morning. And I've gone to work doing my sales job.
What does it do to you?
Nothing. Nothing hallucinogenic.
No.
You get it's a level of focus. It's almost like cocaine energy, but mental clarity and just like, I mean, I was like talking to business owners, and usually do cold calling when you're talking to a business owner and I'm just fucking me, right? Yeah. I'm just jerk off comedian Scott who doesn't own a multi-million-dollar fucking company. I'm going up to these guys, and I'm not like, usually it's an intimidating experience because it's like, you're like prying to find out like, how can I sell you shit? And you feel like that person knows what you're doing. And it feels really, you got to get over that uncomfortability when you do sales. I had none of it. Going in and not only like, usually you're kind of like, oh, I hope he gives me information on this. And I was driving the conversation. So there was like a level of confidence. I had no anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Now it only happened a couple times because I haven't been able to get the exact measurements, but microdosing is one good thing I definitely recommend, but I'm talking like 4 grams of mushrooms, again, in a controlled environment.
Yes.
So where I recommend doing them is with close, non-judgmental friends, people that you could shit your pants in front of and not be embarrassed.
Well, that makes me nervous.
So that's what I mean. And you can't, I caution against doing it inside.
Oh, interesting. Because
now, if you want to come up to PEI with me in the summer and do it on a fucking beach where it's insane, it's best. I do it annually on the beach in PEI because it's hard. I mean, you can't explain it, but it is offensive to a living, conscious individual to not give yourself that opportunity to.
It's fascinating because I've never been open to it ever. Mm-hmm. It's always terrified me. And for some reason, since quarantine, and maybe it's quarantine plus Andrew dying plus it's probably a combination of everything, but being alone in here and going crazy and then hearing about DMT and what people have experienced on and how there's all these common threads through the trips that people talk about, like the waiting room and the entities that you see, and how it's this feeling of like, I'm just letting go and this is all happening and I have no control, but I'm just going to let it happen. And also, like, everyone talks about comfort. It's like comforting. It's making me so much more curious about things like mushrooms. Don't know if I'd ever do DMT, but I'm way more fascinated and open to the idea now than ever before. And it's crazy because if you would have asked me this over a month ago, I would have just been like, nope, not interested. Scares me. Don't want to do it. But I've heard that hallucinogens and DMT and things like this like make you less afraid of death, and that is the main appeal to me, to be honest.
Okay, so I'll say this first off, and there will be people who disagree with me on this. Those people are 110% wrong. You do not do it in your fucking apartment the first time. And that's because you are surrounded by unnatural laws. You are surrounded by straight lines and right angles. And that's not how the world exists outside of your apartment. We don't have rigid things. Cell phones, videos like this, you can do them. And
you mean mushrooms, right? Like mushrooms. DMT.
I can't talk about DMT because I've never done it.
Because I feel like most DMT people, they do it in their homes.
Yeah, well, you'd sit there and then you trip out on the couch, and 15 minutes later you're fucking back, or 20 minutes later you're back. But mushrooms, which is much more accessible, And at least in my experience and understanding, much more safe because it's not like a big.
But aren't you moving
chemical
around on
process.
mushrooms? Like, aren't you running around, walking around?
You're spending 6 hours. At
But
least.
do you know, like, when you're on them, like, do you know where you're, like, do you see the real world?
Oh yeah, like okay.
Like, I'm fascinated by this because it used to terrify me, but
Mushrooms is, my brother explained it really well. It's like, it's so you know how you hand a child a fucking pine cone and they're blown away? They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What is this? And they feel the pine cone and they're like, oh my God, it feels like that. Yeah. Well, the child feels like that because it's experiencing a pine cone for the first time.
Right.
Okay? You are a child experiencing things for the first time, but you're starting from now.
Yeah.
You're starting from someone that knows you don't stick a fucking knife in your throat. A baby doesn't know that. A baby has to be told, don't lick the knife or you'll cut your tongue. You know that. Your hallucinations you're not going to see an elf jump onto the desk and run across. I mean, highly unlikely. Okay. Yeah. But you, and the way I described it the last time was it's a sense of familiarity with the universe and a connectivity to it, as if you're like, whoa, like, it's almost like I've been here before, but not necessarily that you've been here before. It's just like you realize that you've always been a part of it.
Yes. That's what people say about DMT too, but DMT is obviously way more like.
Well, DMT, you're gone. You're outside. You're in another dimension.
Yeah.
But mushrooms, it's like you're at the beach. But now when you see the waves, usually you see the waves and you're like, oh, that's kind of pretty. I like the sunset. Now you're feeling the world breathe. You're feeling the night move. You're
so interesting.
And I'm telling you, like, I would recommend coming to PEI with me anyway, even if we don't do mushrooms at PEI.
I mean, I would feel safe with you, and I get nervous.
You would be allowed to feel safe with me and my friends.
I mean, I won't lie. I get nervous when I do any type of drugs other than just smoking weed, because I did edibles recently. Actually, I've been kind of experimenting with edibles lately. Mm-hmm. And I had half a cookie, and I don't do well on edibles. It's my heart. My heart races.
I mean,
and I don't know, and I don't know what it is. Like, if my heart didn't race, and if I could just feel that like relaxed body high without feeling like I was about to have a heart attack, I think I would enjoy it more. Yeah, so that's why I'm nervous to try any type of drugs.
Well, and again, like, okay, when you're drunk, do you feel like you're stoned?
No,
because it's not the same thing, and it doesn't affect you in the same way.
Yeah.
One thing, so I did mushrooms twice this summer, and the first time I had that nervousness. There's always like how's this one gonna go? But I've never really had a terrible trip. I've had bad trips on mushrooms. I'm not gonna lie, but they were because of being in uncomfortable, unfamiliar situations. Like I went to the Ozzy Floyd show at the Metro Center, and I had to give a ticket to a security officer, and before they would let me into the show, that doesn't make sense. That's not the law of nature. To hand a piece of paper that says I'm okay to be in here, it's like, why can't I just come in here? And now you're gonna hold a flashlight.
You didn't give a ticket?
No. I had I was just like really nervous because I knew I was doing something that's wrong, and I was standing in line in public, and I didn't want anybody to know, and I was freaking out, and it was cold, and I was shivering. It was a really uncomfortable time, and I was like nervous, and then I was listening to my friends speak, and I was just like, oh God, I wish I was warm, and then I just closed my eyes, and then I was like, oh, I feel so comfortable right now. And I spread my arms out, and I was like, ah. And then I went, wait, why are my arms light out? And then I opened my eyes, and I was lying on the ground outside the Metro Center in line.
Oh my God.
There's 100 people in line. I'm lying in line, and my buddy goes, dude, it's December 14th. He's like, dude, get up. And I go, I just wanted to see what you guys would do if I fell down on the ground like that. And they're like, oh shit.
This was on mushrooms?
Yeah. And then they were like, we got to calm him down. So they took me over to Scotia Square or Parade Square to smoke a joint with me. I couldn't feel up, down, left, or right. Like if I was looking at my feet while I was walking, it felt like I was walking towards my feet.
Dear God.
If I was lying on the ground or leaning against a wall, it felt the same. But I did that shit in the wrong environment. Now, once I got to my seat and had a cigarette between my legs on the floor of the Metro Center, I lit a smoke and was smoking it between my legs so nobody would see. Once the music started playing, my face hurt by the end of the night because I had a big goofy smile on the whole fucking time. So I just listened to Pink Floyd. Now, but that's why I don't recommend doing it in an apartment in the city. A lot of people treat it like a party trap.
Yeah.
Well, because money doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Money is time in a piece of paper that you give somebody, and then they give you your time back to you in the form of a product. Okay, you go to work, you work fucking $15 an hour. I worked an hour. How do they represent that? They give it to you on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then you take that piece of paper and you give it to the shop and they give you a fucking chocolate bar.
Right.
It's very, very abstract. But what does make sense is if I hit my hand, I feel the reaction of slapping my hand.
Yeah.
If someone yells in my ear, I feel that. Those are natural laws. And mushrooms really tunes you into those natural laws. And it's when you're with people you're comfortable with, only people you're comfortable with. And I mean, I would say you'd be comfortable with my friends if you met my friends, because my friends are like,
I mean, I just think people. Mentally I'm more open to, I think when you're resistant or nervous, it's going to affect the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think now that I've listened to so many accounts of it, and I have a desperate desire to let go. Because I don't think one thing I don't think I've actually relaxed since I've been born.
Yeah.
Truly.
So, okay, one real cool experience was I was the first time I ever did it, and again, one of the most influential experiences of my life. I was lying on my back lawn, and it was a beautiful, clear, starry night, and I was lying on my back looking up at the night sky.
On mushrooms?
And on mushrooms. I think we did 3.5 or 4 grams. Or maybe it was 2.5 the first time. I can't remember. I think it was 3. I was looking up at the sky, and I could almost like third person picture myself lying on the side of the planet.
Oh my God.
Because there's no up, right? There's just north.
Yeah.
Up is subjective. Up to me is down to somebody on the other side of the planet.
Mm-hmm. Because the Earth is not flat.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to have to go into that. I don't want to have the conversation. But
for anyone listening, just so you know.
Yeah. So up to me is only up objectively.
To you. Yeah.
Or sorry, subjectively to me. Objectively, there is no up because there's north, there's south. Those are bearings that are relative to the planet. So I had this feeling like I was lying against the earth and looking straight out as if I was leaned up against a wall. It's really hard to describe how you just feel like you're part of it.
Right. I mean, this is what I've heard. This is exactly
and that's
what I've heard
thing
about it.
That is not okay. It apparently you can reach a state like that through intense meditation
and yoga, certain types of yoga too.
which is a form of meditation.
Yeah.
It's like, but again, we're talking, you're not going to do it doing a yoga video on YouTube.
No.
You're not going to do it doing yoga for 15 years. Like I feel like you need to have meditation as a practice in your life.
I literally am going to start tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So another one, Sam Harris has a good guided meditation. There's a short and a long, there's a 20-minute and a 40-minute version or something like that on his
app. Yeah, I have a free month.
YouTube. Yeah,
on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, is it on YouTube?
Do you have Headspace?
Well, I have the Waking Up app.
Okay.
Which is, it's like, they said it's an introductory course to...
Yeah.
And actually,
now, the important thing about meditation is Vipanassa, Vipanassa, I think is what it's called, which is mindfulness meditation. There's all kinds of hokey bullshit out there. There's all kinds of feel the energy. Vipanassa is awareness meditation. Mm-hmm. It's sitting down and it's recognizing you have an itch on your nose, but it's like you're kind of like analyzing the itch and you're preventing yourself from reacting to the itch. So You're going, what is an itch? An itch is like typically a hot sensation. You feel this hot, almost like stinginess, but if you're just focusing on you focus on the pressure points of your ass while you're sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Or you focus on all these different things and you don't react to them. That's Vipanassa, which is awareness meditation.
Right.
And that's really what I find is the effective one because there's no woo-woo in it. It's just being in tune. And it's fucking hard. It's very difficult.
I'm excited to try it, though, because I feel like now's the time to do it.
Well, don't expect anything from it. But try it.
Yeah, that's...
And then keep trying it. And keep trying. I'll say this. Meditation is one of the most important things a person can do, and I almost never do it.
Oh, really?
I never do it. Because I'm a
recognize
distracted...
the importance of it, though.
Yeah. That's like working out and not drinking. I mean, I know I probably should do less of eating pizza, but fuck, it's good.
Yeah.
So meditation is another one of those things where it's like, I had a buddy say to me, I said, I feel like I never have time. He said, if you don't feel like you have the time to meditate, that's a reason you should meditate.
Yeah.
Because you are chased out of your bed by your thoughts every morning.
Ugh,
your thoughts are, you're constantly reacting to literally everything. How often do you get an itch and you don't itch it? You always itch it.
Yeah.
But you never just go, I'm feeling this right now. Like, what am I feeling? Again, Sam Harris explains a lot of this shit in his book about how, like, have you ever been in an angry conversation or something pissed you off? You were in a bad mood, but then let's say your boss calls you.
Yeah.
And now you're called to be on your best social, like,
you have to change it.
Yeah. So you got to say, hey, how's it going? And then you're talking to this person and then they tell a joke and you laugh and you sincerely laugh at the joke because it was a funny joke. And you go, ha ha ha. And you feel better talking to that person.
Yeah.
And then you hang up the phone. What do you do when you hang up the phone? You go back to being mad.
Not always, though. Sometimes it
if it's something that's really pissing you off, like it's a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're snapped back into our life. Yeah.
But that's a choice.
Mm.
And happiness, quite honestly, is a choice.
It is, and it's hard right now. I mean, I'm having a hard time with this quarantine. Just not having motivation.
Oh, I'm feeling myself too. There's a lot of apathy. There's a lot of, and I mean, I have it 1,000 times better than you. I still have my job. I still get to drive out around in the truck. I still get to go out in my backyard. I have a fucking yard.
Yeah, but it's giving me more mental strength than ever because I have to. It's almost like being in. I hate saying this way because it's not the case, but survival mode in a weird way.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Because I still have to make sure I go get those groceries and keep living, even though it doesn't feel like there's anything worth living for right now.
Yeah, and like you have introverted tendencies, but you're not an introvert.
Not at all.
You're an extrovert, and I'm an extrovert too.
Such an extrovert, and this is my hell.
Yeah.
This is my personal hell.
It's
literally.
Tough. But again, like,
I hate this apartment. Hate it.
Oh yeah. But again, it's like, so, it's like quitting smoking and stuff like that. Like I'm almost 5 months now. Meditation helps with that. Not so much because I haven't meditated since I quit smoking, but understanding like the practice of not reacting when something grabs you is an important way to deal with things. So like, it's like if you have that thought of smoking and you hold on to that thought, you're buying a pack of smokes. You're bumming a smoke off somebody. You're going to do what you do because you're grabbing onto that thought. But if you go, okay, that thought's entered my mind. I need to distract myself. I need to think about something else. And you do that for 30 seconds. Yeah. I mean, you can conquer anything. That's what happened with me with after the affair was.
I feel like this affair was a huge thing for you.
It was one of the worst things that's ever happened to me, which means I'm an incredibly lucky person. But it was fucked up. And it caused a lot of, I mean, again, I bring it up because it's what I can use as a thing that significantly impacted my life day to day. Well, it's not something absolutely. Since then, I haven't had a whole lot that's been too hard to recover from. But with that, it was hard to recover from.
Absolutely.
And what I would do is whenever I would have that thought of, like, this shit happened, if I hold on to that thought, it's going to go, why did it happen? That's not fair. Oh my God, maybe it's my fault. What if? And then I'll drag myself into a spiral and I'll hold myself down in this pit of depression for 3 days. Yeah. But if I distract myself for 30 seconds and go, fuck that, I'm not thinking about it, then what I would do is the thought would eventually leave my mind. I'd start singing a song. I'd put on a YouTube video about whatever else. I'd do something to distract myself from that thought.
Is that healthy though?
Incredibly healthy. Because...
Or is it...
You can still... Again, it was after months of nothing but depth in the negativity of that thought. When I felt the negativity pull me down to the lowest places I've ever fucking been. And and what you do is you recognize what it is that brings you there. And if you stop yourself, and that's again, awareness meditation, you recognize that which is the thing that like pulls you into that state, then you could prevent yourself from following that path.
Question for you though. Is it possible to just decide not to be in love with somebody?
Okay. That is oversimplified.
Yeah.
But I will say this. The less you allow yourself to think about that person, the easier it will become.
Well, what if it's the less you think of that person as your idealized version of a partner that you want to have, and more so you're just like, this is this person that I know, but I'm gonna choose not to be in love with them anymore.
I don't mean to hurt you, but I'm with Lauren.
This has all been leading up to this moment. Just straight up projection on my own podcast. Thanks, Scott.
No.
I guess what I'm getting at is like,
oh, okay.
Can you have so much control over your own thoughts and emotions to a point where you can just say, I'm done with you. Like I had these feelings and no more. Like, no more.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah, I think
the long answer is it's fucking incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But do you know what happiness
it's thought
is?
Control. It's thought control, right? Like,
hey, let's see if I can find this. Do you know what happiness is? Happiness is acceptance. Acceptance.
I think that would be true. Yeah.
So I wonder, where do you find your notes on Facebook?
That's a good question. Facebook has changed so fucking much.
Because I have an old note that I wrote. Here it is. Let's see if I can find it. My view on everything. What about the hit? Westboro Baptist Church. Happiness. All right. So here's something I wrote back in 2011.
This is your definition of happiness?
Not my current definition. There may be, I haven't read this in that was made in 2011. So it's been 9 years since I wrote this. And I didn't have kids before this. But a lot of this, I believe, I don't know. It'll be interesting to read this because
Can we go live?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. So here's what I wrote.
No idea how long we've been recording because I can't see the time.
Neither can I. But I don't know. It's been a good conversation for the most part.
It's been awesome, Scott. I always love talking to you.
I know. This one definitely is like the most serious of the
I don't care though because I'm
had.
in that state lately. I'm in the state of like I've been listening a lot and talking less. I find
I'm listening's great. Listening's really good. Listening
hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I'm a hard. For me, it's incredibly hard because I got a lot to say, and I have a fucking opinion on everything.
I'll give you this. You know what you're really good at? Not interrupting people.
Am I? I would disagree.
You're better than a lot of, I would say, male friends that I even consider close friends. That I'm like, I mean, I'll say it. Andrew Vaughn was bad for it. He would interrupt me all the time. He probably didn't know he was doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's. You have to acknowledge that, the intent.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of males can talk over women a lot. And you don't.
Sure.
You really don't.
Again, it's a thing I'm insecure about is I want to make sure. Sometimes I feel like I do interrupt a lot, but I feel like when I interrupt, it's relevant to the conversation. Because I feel like I maybe have I don't know. Like I hate saying nice things about myself, but I feel like I have an intuition to what people are about to say.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody says, that I'm wrong about what they were saying, then I'll fucking shut up and listen to that. And I am cognizant of when I fuck up or when I'm cognizant of every goddamn thing I do.
Yeah.
To a degree.
That's good.
To a degree. I don't possess I feel like I don't know what to call it. Social intelligence.
I don't think that's true.
I'm a little loud and I say things that are a little out of left field. Like people would say, "Oh my God, did you really just say that?" And it's like, "Oh shit, should I not have said that?" Like it's almost like
that's tact.
Yeah.
You might lack some tact. That's a fun thing to say.
But I don't like
tact.
I also don't like it. The stuff that I'm like, there is no should or shouldn't, except for you shouldn't have malicious intention. You shouldn't be trying outwardly to do bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if you weren't trying to be a bad person, then you fucked up. If you tried to be a bad person, you did something wrong. But if you were foolishly stumbling into something and you did wrong, then you fucked up, not you did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that distinction makes sense. But anyways,
yeah.
Let's read this happiness thing. This is written by me, and I already gave the punchline, or not the punchline, but the it's funny, my sister commented, "Where did you get this?"
This is back in the days when you would do Facebook notes.
Well, yeah.
And people would comment on them.
I think I've only written 4 notes. One of them was free to fuck up. And this one, it was back, what was it? I read something. Be the person you were before you started doubting yourself.
Be the person you were before you started doubting yourself. That would be out of
or
the
before
womb.
life made you so jaded, or whatever.
That would be so. I need to act like a newborn baby. Because I have self-doubt is my number one. Self-doubt is my biggest challenge.
But how are you supposed to not have it in a world where most people on social media, and again, this is so fucking cliche, but most people on social media are just projecting perfection?
I would 100% agree. I'm writing something that is called what's the fucking title? I was so proud of the title. Oh, fuck.
Well, I call it being free to fuck up. Is allowing, it's like going, okay, I may be wrong, but like, I want to be allowed to speak. Because we're getting to a point in 1984 where we're only allowed to talk to our close friends, which is that little part in your apartment where you can write down your thoughts freely, where you're not being monitored, right?
To your close friends.
Well, your close friends are the people that you can speak freely to, right?
Mm-hmm. Happiness, definition of happiness, according to Scott MacLean.
Circa 2011. Again, I haven't read this in a long time.
That's not that long ago.
That's 9 years. I've changed a lot.
Oh,
this is before,
shit, it is. Holy
before
fuck.
I had fucking kids, okay? Before I knew. This was written a month. This was written before I met the mother of my children. 1 year before I met her. This is when I was living in Toronto, drinking and doing comedy and working at TELUS at the Toronto Eaton Center.
All right.
Very different guy. 23 years old.
Shout out to Tarvald's Quest, who tuned in and said, "What's up, nerds?" on Twitch. Fellow Twitch streamer, Tarvald's Quest.
Tuning into the comedy podcast while people
comedy podcast talking about death and fucking, I know this has been not a Tarvald's Quest said Scott is too handsome for Twitch. Scott is actually on Twitch and streams all the time. Scooter McBean. Tarvald's does a lot of like retro gaming and stuff.
Okay, that's all I gotta do. I've been playing The Last of Us. Oh God, no, we won't get into that. Anyways,
you're streaming all the time. I noticed, like daily, aren't you?
Not daily, but every like couple of days, every bi-daily, we'll call it. All right, I want to get to this.
Okay, what is it?
Happiness. This is as it's written. It's titled Happiness. In the first line, you are worthless. Nothing you do really matters. Nothing you say, even with the greatest conviction, is very relevant at all. Even if you're an important person, someone who has strong influence on a small group of people, or if your words can affect world change, you really don't mean a whole lot. Even if you make the biggest impact on the world and this entire generation, in the end, it won't mean anything. Not in the grand scheme of things. Your actions, as sincere and filled with good intentions as they may be, aren't going to stop the sun from exploding. It won't stop the world or the solar system from being burnt up in an uncontrollable mass of flaming energy. In the big picture, you won't mean a thing at all. Now.
And you say you didn't do DMT?
Now that you know all this, how are you going to be happy? How could you possibly smile knowing that everything you do isn't going to matter in the end? Well, the key is in just that. It doesn't matter. In the future, you'll be part of the past, but we're not there yet. And the past, well, the past is gone. Now, you can try to make better decisions. You can be more self-aware. You can make sure you never make the same mistakes again, but you can't change the past. So if we don't have the future and we don't have the past, then all we have is the present. Obviously, that's not much of a revelation. But what is the present? What is the present? Today? Well, if we want to be that broad, then sure. But you don't experience 24 hours all at once. The only thing you actually have is right now. And that's gone now too. But right now is here. Well, it was. But as soon as something happens, it becomes the past. We're influenced by the past, and we hope for a better future. But what about right now? If everything is going so badly, how can we ever be happy? Well, you simply be happy. It's a decision you make. In spite of everything that is going on, you can still do it. No matter how bad things have been or how bad they are right now, it's just a switch you have to flick. You just have to recognize that this moment is all you have. It's the only thing you can control. Recognize that all you are is a giant conglomerate of living cells, a synchronized series of chemical reactions that combine to make the conscious being that is you. A machine that reacts to and whose physical well-being is influenced by emotions. And your two choices are to be happy or sad. I assume that feeling happy feels better to you. So if you have control over this machine's ability to feel good or bad, then happiness should be your top priority. Now,
holy fuck! How long is this note?
It's only another paragraph. It's not always easy. You're you. You've been you your entire life, and you're going to be you until you die. But if you can accept that all you have is yourself and recognize that happiness is what makes you feel good, then how can you ever be sad? Bad things will happen and regrets will infiltrate your well-being. But if you can remember that how you feel is controlled by you and accept that you is all you have, then you can make yourself happy whenever you want. There is no pursuit of happiness. There's only happiness. So what is happiness? Acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Not worded as I would write it today.
Again, this goes back to my question that I asked earlier, which is, can you just choose to be a certain emotion? Sarah.
I
find that very hard.
Oh, it's not easy, but it's possible.
I do agree with whatever will be. I do agree with that.
And whatever has been, and you cannot change it. So essentially what I was saying in this long rant, I used to rant forever, I still do, but back then it was much worse. To sum that up is the future's not here yet. You can't control that. The past is gone. You can't control that. The only thing you can control is how you feel right now. And that's a reaction to things. So Vaughn dies, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. It feels shitty. Oh my God, my friend is gone. I wish he didn't die. I wish I would have done something. I wish, personally, Scott MacLean, 2020, I wish that I would have fucking pushed harder to get him to work out.
I wish I told him to go to the fucking hospital when he said he was having chest pains. Literally hours before he died.
And you can hear your voice breaking. You can hear your voice breaking right now at that regret of something that exists in the past that you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you control right now? You can't control back then, and you don't know what the fuck's about to happen. So you just got to deal with right here, right now, and that's the only thing that you have. And you only have it for a second, and it's gone. So you just try to go, like, again, objectively look at things and go, what can I do to make things okay? You just take a deep breath.
Yeah, but it is harder during these times because it's harder every second. It's layered depression because it's not just I was depressed before this, okay, and then friend dies, add that on. Quarantine happens, add that on. I lose my job, add that on. Like, it is heightened right now for everybody.
But the absolute worst thing you can do is dwell on all of those facts. Again,
absolutely.
This is all circling back. This is all circling back to what I said at the first, when trauma visits you, when negative things happen in your life. The response is, now what?
Now what?
Because that's done. You can't do that. You can't change that.
Mm-hmm.
You have lost your job. Your best friend or your good friend, whatever, has died.
Yeah.
You are in quarantine. Shit's really scary. Now what?
I love it. I think we have an episode title.
So is that how we end it?
I think that's a mic drop right there. That's a mic drop moment.
You gotta really put something out here that this is very much, it's went way philosophical, not funny at all. And I
love that shit though. I
love this conversation.
I like joking around and shit, but I especially lately have been really liking just like getting really, really deep with conversation. And
I always do. It's a problem. It's weird for me. It weirds people out because I'm super open and I'll share anything pretty much about anything. And so, and I have a little, I don't know, Doug Stanhope called it the carnival. It's when you try to go to sleep and that's when the carnival kicks in.
That's why. I haven't felt safe falling asleep before the sun comes up lately. It's this really, I've turned into a child that's scared of the dark.
But you're holding on to all these, again, the million potentials of fears. Lock your front door, lock your back door. You'll probably be okay.
Probably.
Go to sleep and fuck it all.
Should we do a little, well, let's close out this episode. Where can the listeners find you?
Listeners can find me on
sorry, I just
Twitch.
need to read this comment. Turtles Quest said this is some Shia LaBeouf type of shit.
No, and you know what? And on Shia LaBeouf's point, Shia LaBeouf, everyone just laughed at him. He was right. Do it. Do the fucking thing. We talked about this. You talked about this in so many words earlier in the night. You said you don't like people who talk about, I wish I do this, I wish I do this, I wish I do this, and they don't actually do it. That's what Shia LaBeouf was saying. He was saying, do it.
Well, action. I think you can manifest, but you need to have action with it.
Do it.
Do it.
That's what he was saying. He was saying, go after the fucking thing. And he's not wrong. But he did it in a weird, artistic-y way.
Okay, so people can find you on Twitch.
You can find me at Twitch. You can read my name here. It is Scooter McBean.
Thanks for giving me things to edit in.
And then Fairy Dust here. You can find me on YouTube at Scott MacLean. And you can find me on Facebook at Scott MacLean.
Do you encourage people to just add you?
I don't really give a shit. I don't have a fan page yet.
Don't do that. Vaughn would hate it.
Well, I will do it. Vaughn was not a perfect specimen, okay?
Most certainly not.
Where is it? What's it called?
Instagram?
No. You can find me on Instagram as
oh my god, you're Scotty Mac something.
Scotty Mac 2332, I think. 1 second.
Yeah, 2332.
Yeah, Scotty Mac 2332. And you can find me on this Saturday. I don't know when this will come out, but
this will come out on. This is perfect. It comes out on Friday, so tomorrow.
Okay. Tomorrow. Find me out tomorrow on the Ultimate Online Nova Scotia Kitchen Party brackets. I think it's COVID-19 edition.
Yes.
Hold on. COVID-19 edition. No hyphen between the
Facebook
COVID-19.
Group, right?
Facebook group. I will be performing a minimum of 50 songs live. I will maybe take requests if I feel like I know the song enough that I can sing it. And you can find me, you can find me at Yuck Yucks and shit like that once I get all that stuff done. But first, Scooter McBean.
We don't know when that will be.
Scott CC MacLean, Scotty Mac 2332 on Instagram, and the Ultimate Online Nova Scotia Kitchen Party COVID-19 edition this Saturday. Come out, hang out. You got lots to edit now.
I think that we went double the time. I think this was like a 3-hour episode.
When did we start? 9 o'clock?
8:30. Fuck.
No, we started at 9.
Oh, okay.
We were supposed to start at 8:30.
Yeah,
we started shortly after 9.
I could edit
10, 11, 12. That's 3 hours.
People will have to deal with it.
They let them watch it. Just put it out.
I've stopped
I'm
caring
ashamed
about
of nothing that I said so far.
If you're going to listen for 2 hours, you're going to listen for those 2 hours, turn it off. That's cool.
Yeah. Just do it.
Thanks so much, buddy, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Actually, honestly, it was great. It was a lot of fun. It flew by. I mean, it's fucking midnight now.
It did fly by. I have no way for you to ring this, but you can pretend to ring a bell.
3, 2, 1.
Ding, ding.
Whatever.
Let's do a little